Hey everybody, this is Silver Spook, and this is the Silver Spook video about psychosis, zombification, cyber-opium class war, and other vectors of future control. Yes, so today we'll be talking about obviously artificial intelligence, and also how viral pathogens are part of a set of systems to maintain a basically a invisible cage, mostly invisible cage around the mass population of the Earth, as much as they can manage anyway. So I thought this is important, especially now, because there's a lot of I haven't covered this. I haven't come back specifically to these topics in a little bit, so I figured now's a good time to refocus, as there is a record. Well, just it's really like it's constantly breaking records, but now there's a record amount of capital and attention and danger to everything, including the financial system, but also obviously to people in general, when it comes to these two things. Well, there's really there's a whole set and a host of subtopics and interconnecting topics that it's hard to really deal with in any one. Can't really focus on any one, telescope into deeply to any one specific area, because they're all really intersect, and you can't really grasp what's happening unless you look at all of it in a larger picture, macro sort of scale. And so that's what I'm going to try to do today. We'll see how well we do. But before I forget, though, we are still in an ongoing pandemic, so please take all proper precautions. We have done many videos on this topic, which you can peruse later on. So just, in case you don't know that, masking works. We have many videos on this. I almost wish that we could just link. I know Holly is constantly dropping the links, but it's kind of like I don't have time to. It's a kind of a sensory information overload where I don't have time to get into every single subtopic. So in case we miss it, there's several videos that I've done, including there's another one specifically on this topic about control. What was that one called? So didn't get that one. So it depends on how well my computer cooperates sometimes, but there's another one that I specifically talk about. Okay, looks like I'm not going to be able to find it. Holly, do you have that one in the chat, by the way? Yeah, country. Yeah. There we go. See, Holly knows what I'm trying to look for before I find it. Okay, so in case you missed this one, this is another one that will go more into specifically. This one goes into artificial intelligence, but also goes into the viral topics even more specifically. If you missed that one, you can go and check that one out. That's just one of several. There's also other videos. We have the syndemic. I'm pretty sure I can get that one. I'm pretty sure I made a video about that. You know what that one's called? Holly, do you know what that one's called? Shoot. Yeah, there you go. That's another one. That it's just one of about. There's probably at least 10 videos on this specific topic, on the ongoing brain, body, and immune system destroying virus that is wrecking countless people across the earth still. So if you want more on that specific topic, then check out this one. So I'm going to try to just address the current state of things, but if you want more on that and why we still mask here, we haven't stopped since 2020. And just one fact, we have not gotten a single cold, flu, COVID-19. We haven't gotten out a single RSV. We didn't get stomach bugs, any kind of contagious illness of any kind, strep throat, Zero colds in 6 years, all four of us. Just in case you're curious, that's just our statistic. We do go out into grocery stores, laundromats. We go to public spaces multiple times a week, and zero of us have gotten any illness of any kind. So there's just one way masks work. Just a PSA, because I know some people also support us here and like to hear COVID conscious, health. I would just say health educated, health scientific, health rational information. They like, and also conscious spaces. So just in case you're curious about that, so do check out Controlled Thinning and check out the Syndemic if in case you're wondering. Anyways, okay, but getting into the moment that we're in. So the reason why I bring this up now is, as I said, there's a record amount of money being and finance being thrown and at these projects. There's a lot of new developments that are happening, including like the recognition that it is a huge bubble. It's potentially over a $10 trillion bubble. So let's just go into that one right now. Let's go into the financials. We'll come into the mental impacts on individual people of what is. I like to also. I was watching a Ben Norton video on this, the geopolitical economy part, which was good, but I think it misses some other details that I would add in. It's about focusing more on the geopolitical, geostrategic, and economic and financial factors going into AI, but there's more to it than that. So, but let's look at the financials at this moment. Let's see if I can make sure I get this as fast as I possibly can. Okay, so one of the things that happened. I'll come back to that. The top 8 AI companies are overvalued at over 20 trillion. Like I did my own analysis, and it's about in the top 8 companies. This includes OpenAI. It includes Nvidia, 4.5 trillion. It was 5 trillion. It dropped a little bit recently, so it's in flux, and it's still a bubble. Nvidia is worth on paper 4.5 trillion. You got Microsoft, multi-trillion, and these are like record. Nvidia went from 4 to 5 trillion in like less than 3 months. It's like a whole $1 trillion of value in less than 3 months. That has not happened. Like it took Apple years and years and years, over decades to get to 1 trillion. Nvidia in 3 months went from 4 to 5 trillion. In its supposed ostensible valuation. Okay, and if you add up all those top companies, Microsoft, Nvidia, OpenAI, Apple, Facebook, all these ones that are deeply invested in this, it's $20 trillion. And that's not all of it. There's more. There's more around the world, and definitely in the US. The US is about 60% of the global stock market, but the stock markets across the world, but particularly the US, Wall Street, it's if you subtract AI growth, it's not really growth, it's just a bubble. You subtract AI growth, the US economy didn't grow at all or shrank this last year. It accounts for basically virtually all of the so-called growth. And I would say because it's basically no growth, or it's negative growth, because there's been multiple studies that have shown that like 95% or more of companies that use like ChatGPT, they use AI image, text, like generative AI in their businesses, the actual end users, the corporations and entities that use AI, they purport zero or negative revenue. So they're not making any money from AI. AI isn't actually improving the products. It's not improving the lives. It's not making, consumer products better. It's not making corporations and offices more productive. It's actually making them less productive. Actually, there's some studies that show that programmers are 30% to 200% potentially less productive using AI to generate code. So AI is actually a parasite it's a parasitic technology that actually sucks revenue. It sucks economic value out of the real economy, out of like the people that make cakes and bake, the real productive economy, not the financial Wall Street. It can write down any number they want. It's just a giant game of basically a giant tabletop RPG for billionaires. That's what Wall Street is. They can just make up whatever they want whenever they feel like it. Ultimately, but the real economy where people have to go to work, they work in real big shops. They fix real cars. They need real cars that they got to buy so they can drive to work, right? So they can get the food they need, right? They can, right, get the medicine they need, see the doctors, get the X-rays, right? The actual economy that people produce products and services that other people use and consume, right? AI actually harms that. It makes everyone less productive, among other things. There's actually way more harm than that. But there's been a couple of studies that, so I can find that one. Holly, do you have any that shows AI is less productive? In case I don't find it. Sometimes I don't find exactly what I want. Yeah, there's the MIT study. 95% of generative AI pilots at companies, or just using AI in companies, it actually doesn't produce any revenue. So, okay, I'm not going to be able to read this. Okay, yeah, 95% of AI initiatives at companies fail to turn profit. Partner will build select tools that integrate into your workflows deeply, not just productivity boosts like chatbots. The tools must be future-proof and adaptable. So it's like this is all this. And so what this study showed is that like it's like businesses would like to be more profitable. They would like to make better products. They would like to make products faster, right? AI is going to save time. AI is going to replace jobs. But the reality is AI doesn't actually replace human jobs. Or I mean, I'm going to try to be specific with that. We're talking about like generative AI, like text generators, image video generators that are used by that are produced by OpenAI, Meta, and these kind of particularly like these like Western, these generators are mostly Western and they're mostly US based giant AI companies, right? So we're talking about this output because artificial intelligence could mean like the AI in a video game, like the artificial intelligence that controls NPCs. Because I'm a game developer, programmer myself also. So when we're talking about AI, I know that's part of the strategy is like the strategic ambiguity, the fog of class war. Because people don't really understand what AI is. That's a whole other problem that I talk about. I want to talk about science fiction and technology and future thinking and the hyperbot, the imaginary. I also have videos just about that, about how AI is a weaponization of all of fiction and science fiction itself, and all its Terminator, Skynet, iRobots. Like I use that as the grist of the mill for Neofeud and cyberpunk. Entertaining, satirical, social and politically charged social commentary retro video games like Neofeud. But you can also use the history of science fiction and all the ideas that we have, HAL 9000 and what it could be, what Skynet is, right? What Her, like starring Joaquin Phoenix, that science fiction movie, right? What people's thoughts about what AI is, which is all clouded by this entertainment, because that's entertainment at the end of the day. This is what it is, right? It's entertainment. It can cause you to think and consider things, but it's not the facts on the ground. It's not reality, right? It's those are movies. There are no Terminators. There are no robots out there walking in the world that are trying to exterminate humanity. There's no machine that is developed consciousness, whether that's a Skynet, on Judgment Day, whenever that happens to be. That doesn't exist, right? But those thoughts are always in our mind. Like Skynet, the Skynet argument, right, is literally what Sam Altman is still using, right? Sam Altman, all these AI high priests giving their sermons on various mounts, like Mount Olympus, also known as Washington, D.C. And they use this argument. He's still talking about artificial general intelligence, AGI. What AGI is, this is part of the trick, right? If you talk to the 95% of the lay people that are not computer tech savvy experts, right? AGI just sounds like a fancy technical term that a lot of people don't understand. He'll explain it later. And then to people, including billionaires, because those people are not all programmers. Most billionaires, actually, almost none of them are actually competent programmers who understand the technology. They're just people with money, right? And that's part of, I'm going to go into that later. The CEO ultra rich AI psychosis. It's its own kind of psychosis, I would argue. But Sam Altman is arguing to Congress, to politicians who are going to supposed to be. He's trying to get them to push more money into AI, and not just him, but everyone like him, all the pro AI invested and ultra rich. They are trying to argue that super intelligence is going to be here, right? There's this. It's going to change the world. It's going to end the world, or it's going to save the world. But we have to worry about it, and we have to get there first. So you have to give it to us, U.S. capitalist giant mega corporations like OpenAI and Microsoft, and also by extension NVIDIA that benefits. There's a metaphor like during the gold rush, those who made money were not actually those who were seeking and mining the gold, but actually those who sold the shovels to dig it up in the gold rush. It's this kind of in the craze, right? In the gold mania, right? Everyone flocking into California by the droves, right, to seek their fortunes. Is those that were selling the shovels. Not the one difference that made the most money. Not the people. Actually, the average person didn't make that much money getting gold, right, per person. There was some gold there, but it was the people who had made the most money were those who sold the shovels. So AI is not. The difference with this AI is that there is no actual gold there. Ultimately, like in the what they're claiming they have. They don't have artificial general intelligence. They're not going to get it. I'm not going to go into why exactly. I don't have time for that. But there's other far more technical videos I've made on that topic as well. I don't know if I can find it off the top of my head. I made one way back called "Artificial Intelligence Requires Indigenous Intelligence," but I don't think that's the one. I know I have several on this topic though, so I'm going to try to not repeat myself. The problems of AI art and artificial unintelligence was one of them. That's this one. Actually, if I go, yeah, I'm gonna just check this real quick, see if I can find it. The state of the artifice. This is one of them also. State of the artifice, large AI model. Large model malice and the rare mind user community versus the auto lobotomies or the self lobotomizing masses. There's also the COVID never left, how to never get sick. So there's a bunch of these I've talked about. So in case you want to go more into like when I said that, sorry, lost it. When I said that AI they're not going to have a artificial general intelligence, meaning a computer system of some kind that is capable of everything the humans are capable of, and potentially more, right? So human plus AI. This has been around. This has been in science fiction and computer science in Silicon Valley circles for a long time. This is all old stuff. To me, it's like this is like old stuff. That's all being put. Even chatbots are around in the 70s. That's another point I make. So if you want to hear about like exactly what I mean, like that, what they're saying that what they have in OpenAI, what they have in these AI companies, right, is not what they are promising. You can watch some of these older videos focusing on a topic like state of the artifice to know what I'm talking about. It's because I got to move forward. Okay. So coming back to this, so the valuation, right? Well, that's one of the things. So one of the promises is we're gonna get OpenAI. OpenAI is gonna bring about, if you keep investing, right? If the United States takes trillions and trillions and trillions, and you keep pushing money into it because of the possibilities, they're so huge, right? AI. Once you get AI, it will dominate for centuries. It'll dominate this world. So we have to be there first, right? This is part of the reason why some businesses and business leaders are being pushed to make these decisions. Political leaders are being pushed to make these decisions, right? But and as some have pointed out, like, a lot of political leaders, a lot of individuals, if you can corner them, right? Because the thing is, there are technicians, right? There is like the DAIR, the distributed there's the DIAI org, DAIR org. I'm trying to find that one. No, not that one. The decentralized Artificial Intelligence Research Lab is one of these. There's also somebody who was on Black Liberation Media frequently recently, talking about this topic. It was an AI focused discussion on Black Liberation Media, who points out he used to work at Microsoft. He used to work in Silicon Valley, and he points out like the decentralized AI. Wait, no, that's the wrong one. Yeah, the DAIR Institute. That's not the wrong one. This one is. We cut through the AI hype. So you want to learn more on this topic, this is another source you can go to. They have a lot of good information on this. Timnit Gebru is one of the founders of this decentralized artificial intelligence research center. She was a programmer that worked on the original systems that are now called AI, the large language models, right? Like Google's autocomplete itself, right? Which is what all of this is based upon ultimately. And so the person from the Black Liberation Media pointed out that who also used to work Timnit and the Black Liberation Media computer specialists, they also happen to be black. That didn't make, there is a global imperial capitalist racial component to this as well, which is that the people if you notice, there's a certain kind of person that tends to lead all these AI companies, especially at the highest level. Look at Sam Altman, look at Peter Thiel, look at Elon Musk, look at Larry Ellison, look at Mark Zuckerberg, right? The only exception is Jensen Huang, but he's the token Asian Taiwanese guy that's a traitor to his people. Anyways, he's the one who smiles painedly when the Harvard alumni all sing Yellow Fever, right? They rap along to Yellow Fever by a Bloodhound Gang, which insults all of his people at the parties that he goes to with Sam Altman and the CEO of Microsoft. Anyway, so but like the point that was being made is that like if you're a business if you're Microsoft, right? So and I think it was on Black Liberation Media. Let me see if I can find that one. Not that one. Okay, I don't know how I'll find it. Okay. Anyways, so the point that was being made there is that if Microsoft has somebody who wants to ask for support or capital, right, or wants to sell their company to Microsoft, the technology, right? Let's say it's a young startup, it was a new startup company, and they're like, we have a game-changing system, right? It uses, it's like a step back, it uses some kind of advanced, fiber optics for hardware or some new groundbreaking algorithm that predicts, social outcomes of people in X and Y and Z ways. And, it uses so you have a young entrepreneur like Sam Altman, right? He's from Silicon Valley. Peter Thiel, these are all Silicon Valley people, right? Some young new startup in tech is saying, we have a game-changing technology. You need it. Microsoft, bigger company, right? Give us X amount of money for this technology. So the Microsoft executives, right, they're going to get proposals like this all the time, right? Same thing for Facebook. Same thing for, even NVIDIA will have certain, ideas coming to them, right? Anybody propose, like a Shark Tank, right? Anybody coming to Microsoft with a new technology or system they want to sell, or even like a prospective hire, right? Potentially. The Microsoft executives, they're not all programmers, right? The rich, the business class, the big money dudes, they're not necessarily, and they're usually not programmers, right? Like Elon is not a programmer. He pretends to be one. They made it rain matrix, katakana, and green on black characters when he worked at PayPal and then Twitter, so that he can feel like he's a cool hacker like Mr. Anderson, played by Keanu Reeves. But he's not a programmer of any kind of actual merit, right? He's just a guy with lots of money. He's the capitalist class. So the executives at Microsoft will have they'll have a technical specialist next to them, right? That actually understands like how computer hardware and software systems work, and it'll like analyze. So Microsoft has their technical consultants, their technical experts, analyze the new technology that's being sold by the startup to them, right? To help them say, and so that person can say, yes, their system checks out. They're not lying that they're worth millions of dollars. Or the technical expert says, I have analyzed what they're talking about. I know what I'm talking about, and based on what I have. When I looked into their code, when I looked into their software, when I looked at like their numbers, I go through all of their actual empirical. I've gone through all of their, their trials and their examples and the way that they implement it. Their code is not, it's okay, but it's not going to do what they say. But you're not going to know that, right? You're not going to know that the code doesn't do what the programmer says, right? You don't know that Sam Altman's OpenAI is going to do what he says, change the world. It's going to, make so many jobs, superfluous, and it's just going to be, right? So you don't know that until you actually look inside and you see what is under that hood, right? Because anybody could put a car. You could say, oh, this is a beautiful, brand new, Mercedes. If you don't look inside that hood and you see if the car actually runs, it could be no engine in there, right? And if you don't have the technical understanding of a computer scientist, specifying specifically an expert in like large models, you have to at least know like how these large models, stochastic parroting systems, these pattern recognition and mimicry systems work. If you don't understand that, right, then you're not gonna, as Microsoft, a business, they're not going to be able to, they're going to get ripped off. And if Microsoft did what Sam Altman is getting everyone in the United States and around the world, business leaders, the rich, and politicians, right, investors, teachers are using AI, right? Education systems are using AI. People are being asked to use AI in every office, just regular businesses. Everyone is being pushed to use AI, use AI, use AI, use AI, right? Use ChatGPT, use, ChatGPT, use the image generator, knowledge generators, use code generators, right? If Microsoft itself, right? If Microsoft, even OpenAI, if NVIDIA just took other people's technology without investigating them, the way that everyone is being asked to take ChatGPT into their life without knowing how it works, they would all be bankrupt because they would have been ripped off by the 600 young, smart graduates who want to make millions of dollars selling products to Microsoft, which has old dinosaur rich people that don't know what they're doing, because that's the capitalist class. It's, emerald and gold. Elon is an emerald diapered colonial apartheid baby pretending to be some kind of savior of the world, billionaire, philanthropist, arms dealer, playboy. But he doesn't know what he's doing. That's why the code at Twitter keeps breaking. It was breaking when he first took over. It still breaks all the time because of things that he's done to it. But Elon does have people that know what they're doing. He's also one of these people that he has his own billionaire psychosis, right? That he really believes that he really knows what he's doing. But the billionaires are a little bit more cognizant of what's going on, right? And certainly the millionaires and the general investor class, and even if not the billionaire class, those who are executives, right? They don't want to get hoodwinked. They don't want to get tricked, right, by other startups and other smaller technology companies. That is where innovation happens. Innovation doesn't happen in big giant monopolies like Peter Thiel's, neo-feudal techno kingdom that he wants to build. He said competition is bad, but that's not actually where innovation happens. Innovation happens in, when there is, young, hungry, hoping to make a name for themselves, not established, skilled professionals that are competing against each other. That's where innovation does happen, right? That's why China is beating the United States, because they reproduced that without the winner take all, just the catastrophic, oligarchic, plutocratic, all for profit for the tiny minority against the benefit of the few, U.S. sort of system. But they still have the competition, right? Because it's not bad to have competition. It's bad to, after the competition is over, people's needs still need to be met, whoever specifically won any particular competition, right? But anyway, long story short, so that's where the startups happen, right? Then the startups get eaten up by the bigger firms, Microsoft, Facebook, right? Amazon had like a diaper razor startups. They all got, and then they were competing, and then Amazon ate them. YouTube itself was like a small, tiny little video program made by this Asian kid in like California, and then it got eaten up by Google, right? Just a couple other examples, right? But and like some of the big tech companies that you try to, or they used to try to, try to spark, to try to keep some kind of innovative spark going. Google University, there's all these Google programs they had, but anyway, long story short, but ultimately, because I want to come back to my point before I go too far into that weeds, people in general, this is a very important point. People are being asked to use a tool that they don't understand, right? Like before people understood smoking caused cancer, right? Everyone smoked. Now people still smoke. Not everyone, but people still smoke, right? For whatever reason. They're addicted. They thought it was cool. They don't care that they're going to get cancer, whatever, right? But people will be pushed to smoke, being told that there was no health risk, even to the point of the rich manipulating the medical system and doctors themselves. So anyway, okay, so that's a very important point. That's part of what, like, this image that I have here, right? The AI is also wrecking and destroying your mind. It's literally, you're outsourcing your consciousness, your thinking, your creativity, even your emotions, like your relationships to a robot. People. And I'm not saying that you personally right now are doing that, but that is something that millions and possibly billions of people are doing. And if the billionaire corporate class control the AI, which they do, right? They can have you think whatever they want. If you're not using your brain to do a lot of your thinking, then the computer, and by extension the oligarchy, is literally thinking for you. So that's total, just straight up mind control. To a large extent, viral mass consciousness. Well, I have to think with the computer. The computer is my partner. Help me think. So you want Mecha Hitler. You want Elon Musk's. Literally, it causes psychosis. It causes people to unalive themselves. Causes people to like eat glue. It causes people to like literally fall into like serious mental illness. Like actually go into like psychotic breaks. This has happened to thousands of people. It's like medical doctors, mental health professionals have been sounding the alarm on this, right? That's just one of the outcomes, but it also destroys your consciousness and your ability to think. It actually reduces your the vast majority of your cognitive abilities to the point where you can't even remember what you have written when you quote unquote write with AI. But even if you're not fully using it that way, well, I use it in a smart way. You're working with Peter Thiel. You're working with Mecha Hitler. You're working with Elon Musk. You're working with the corporation to have thoughts. Just think about that, right? Well, it's okay because I'm just it's not like I'm doing. It's just me and Hitler are talking to each other, and then we're coming up with ideas together. It's like me and the billionaire class. It's like you're like I don't know what else to say. Except like they don't have your best interests at heart. They never have, unless you really think that Facebook cares about you. Do you really think that? The military-industrial complex and a global plutocracy that's burning the entire planet have committed mass live stream holocausts, are currently have a handful of people that are richer than everyone else. They're building data centers that are jacking up the price of electricity to 200-300% in cities to just make more of this slop and keep a tens of trillions dollar value. They have nothing in common with you. And their programs are not there to help you. Their software is not there to help you be more productive. If it was, we can even empirically see that it's not helping anyone be more productive. So if you're saying I'm getting better at writing with using the AI, you're not. You're like empirically, scientifically not. You're probably going to lean towards more right-wing ideology. Probably, actually, you're going to lead. That's actually what happens. The more you use AI, it shows that there's actually it slants everything towards right wing, at the best towards like a centrist liberal imperialist perspective, because that's it's there, or it's like you're somewhere between Elon, Peter Thiel, and Mark Zuckerberg's ideologies, and these are all imperial capitalist ideologies that they're never going to benefit you. extreme far right ideologies. They're also all done. They're all deeply embedded with MAGA, right? They're all of the tech billionaires, all the AI magnates were all at Trump's inauguration. They're all benefiting from the policies that he has. They're even more so siding with the far right than even the Democrats at this moment, because of the political and historical forces that are all aligning in this moment. So I'm gonna it's gonna help me now when. Anyway, so I know I'm kind of jumping a lot forward, but I feel it's important to kind of front load that, because that's something that I think is important for people to know, right? It's kind of like, well, smoking isn't bad. I mean, smoking, it just makes you feel good. Okay, imagine there were no scientific studies that conclusively showed smoking causes increase in blood pressure. Smoking causes the risk of heart disease. Smoking causes an increased risk of stroke over time. Smoking, and especially chain smoking, causes definite increase in the probability of lung cancer, right? Smoking decreases your life expectancy by years if you do it for a long period of time. Imagine that science is not out yet, okay? But somebody who likes to smoke because, I don't know, it helps them get dates, or they just like to do it for whatever reason, right? They're just like, no, but smoking is good for you. Like, we should all be smoking. Like, I'm such a happier person since I'm smoking, right? And somebody's saying, okay, but we don't, like, I mean, and it's like, there's no negative impacts of smoking. Okay, well, you say that, but do you have the science to prove that smoking doesn't have any negative impacts, right? That is the billions of people around the world that are using ChatGPT and other AI systems, right? Gen AI systems right now. They're like the people that are saying smoking doesn't cause any harm because I said so. Or I asked the cigarette company, like asking Sam Altman, right? Sam Altman saying that, or the OpenAI saying that, Microsoft saying that, NVIDIA saying it's going to change the world. It's the best thing ever, right? That's like asking, Camel or Marlboro Corporation to tell you whether smoking is good for you or not. But do you see it like that? Like, there's already a lack of consciousness. That's a lack of mass. Billions of people. I don't know how many people are doing that, but it's many, at least in the United States. And it's statistically, it's something like, it's possibly 90% of high school and college children that are using this. And this, I have whole videos just on this absolutely catastrophic impacts on children's minds and education that AI has. So anyways, so it's like saying, well, smoking has no impact on your lungs. It's like, you using Gen AI to write your essays and do all your schoolwork has no impact on children's learning. Okay, I know you want to believe that because you're using it. And I don't know, it makes you feel. Of course, Gen AI likes smoking. Like, heroin makes you feel good. Meth makes you feel good for a while, right? AI will tell you you're the greatest person ever. Of course, it tells you all kinds of things, right? It's like, again, right? It's just kind of like, you're going to feel better talking to your AI girlfriend because an AI girlfriend will never disagree with you, no matter how wrong and how abusive you are. That's why a lot of abusive, kind of not great people who think of themselves as good people like using AI, because it tells them no matter what they say. You could say, AI, my girlfriend, I cheated on my girlfriend, but I mean, she's like, she didn't even she didn't even cook for me every single night this week. So of course I had to cheat on her. And the guy's like, Bob, you're absolutely right. She really needs to, think about your needs, and really, she's not really fair to you. This is like the things that the AI will say, right? Because the AI's goal is not to make you a better person. It's not to be your therapist. It's your anti-therapist, right? Its goal, like cigarettes, is to keep you consuming, right? AI wants you to keep smoking AI. AI is cyber-opium. Sam Altman is a cyber narco trafficker, and the AI is like a opium that wants you to keep smoking it. Of course, it's going to tell you what you want to hear. It's cyber heroin, right? Of course, you feel better. You feel great about yourself, right? You feel like you are the Kwisatz Haderach and you're the star child and you're going to save the world. It tells people. This is another one. I don't have time to go into. You can look up these articles about all these, right? AI tells people that they are some kind of great, miraculous person that's going to change the world. You're going to build the next evolution of consciousness. This is like ripping off bad old science fiction books and like L. Ron Hubbard and like Arthur C. Clarke quotes and just like spitting that out, right? Because it's literal cyber narcotics. There's a thing called cyber narcotics in Neofeud. It's kind of funny because it's like it's liquid crystal lithium, but it's for sentient conscious machines that have like some kind of neural like blue synthesized. It's like a blue ooey gooey soul mangle. It's some kind of it's a non-silicon, not purely silicon based, actual consciousness, but it's like some kind of like biochip based biosynthetic consciousness substrate that they have. And so cyber narcotics is something that Proto-J and Carl Carbon, well, the robots take this and they blue screen out of their mind smoking liquid crystal lithium, right? An LCD screen is like a table that you cut up the bits of the crystal lithium on, like so much cocaine for robots, with a razor, and then you snort that stuff straight up your nose into your cybrain. But the digital usage of real world ChatGPT and artificial intelligence is like literal cyber heroin. Makes you feel good, keeps you addicted, however it can do that, and then but it's slowly destroying you, eating you away, right? As Karl Marx said, right, religion is the opiate of the mass. It's a spiritual opium. It's a spiritual drug deployed by the mass, by the 1%, right, the upper crust, religious, political, and business elites who are in cahoots, right, to control the minds and the bodies and the souls and the decisions and the labor of the Catholic congregation or Protestant congregation, or whichever one you want to mass control. So I call it opiate of the masses, that had to be dealt with in order to get the masses of the people collectively class conscious, so they can take control back as the masses, educated, free from the drug addiction. Because also this is when the opium war was happening. It's part of the inspiration for that phrase, the opiate of the masses, because this is part of how the greatest economy for 850 years of the last 2000 suddenly became one of the poorest in the world, is because the British and the French put literal physical opium into China and then plundered out silk, tea, and copper, and everything else that they wanted, or silk, tea, and that's actually where Harvard got all of its endowments. All the richest Americans, right, they made their original primitive capital accumulation came from plundering China using opiates. But then he said inside of Europe and the United States, people that are going to church, right, are being controlled and pacified by their religion. Being exploited, being paid terribly. The ruling classes, the oligarchies of the U.S. and Europe, like underpaying their people so terribly. But the people are told, look to the future. When you look to the great delight you will have in Eden, in heaven, right? The land of milk and honey awaits you. This land of earth is temporary, and the toil that we go through, and give us this day our daily bread, O Lord, O King, O capitalist businessman, right? People are, that's what church and that's what the university is for, the liberal, slightly more educated of those that don't just go to church like the conservatives, as was most everyone's case in the pre 20th century. Basically, when the capitalist West had to compete with the Soviet Union and needed educated people, they had to make sure they had a new priesthood of the liberal class. It's called MSNBC and the New York Times bestseller list, and anyway, I don't have time to get into that. So, in long story short, so there are all these methods of control, and those are other methods of control. Religion obviously is another major important method of control. Obviously people can have spirituality and various cultural practices and celebrations, and then there's Western Christianity, which is very much complicit in the global mass colonial capitalist mind control and eradication of Africa, Asia, Latin America, all their peoples, their cultures, and still is a major vector of control even today, as a complex of interlocking systems of control. And the cyber opiate, though, right? So the cyber opiate, right? In that Sam Altman gives his sermons on the Mount, right? The AI gives a personal sermon to you. The AI gives this personal homily. Yes, Mark, or Sherry, what you need to do is you need to not talk to your mom anymore. Your family members, you do deserve to, you're right. You don't need to, take care of your grandma anymore because your mom asked you to help her with that. That's not necessary. You're right. The AI will just tell you, you're right. you deserve, everything that you want. And you should stop talking to your mom. You should stop talking to your friends. You should stop talking to your family and friends and your network. And definitely stop talking to that union that they're trying to organize. Those people are the worst. They don't have your best interests in mind. Talk to me, right? Talk to me, your best friend, the AI. Disconnect from all your humanity. Don't organize with your fellow humans. Don't build solidarity, right? You already know everything. Right, that's the opiate that you're getting. It feels so good, doesn't it? Right, it feels really nice to be talked up. Right, normal humans around, some humans around you will obviously say praiseful things. If you do something nice, if you do something good, right, normal humans will be like, "Wow, that's great. Thank you so much for helping me with my homework," or "Thanks so much for caring for grandma on Sunday," or whatever. But AI will. But if you do something wrong, they're not going to praise you for that. Or if you aren't fulfilling responsibilities, normal people are not going to just hype you up and just say you're the best constantly, right? But AI will do that, right? It's like a cyber hype man, It's like Flavor Flav, So Flavor Flav is supposed to, just hype it up in the 90s. I'm thinking of Public Enemy. I don't know if those things are relevant anymore, but those positions, those jobs, I don't know if they have hype men anymore. But some friend groups will hype you up more than others, but AI is literally there to tell you exactly what you want to hear at any time of the day, no matter what. And to the point where you can enter psychosis because you won't be able to tell what if you are removed from other people, right? That help to balance you out and call you out, correct you when you're wrong on things, right? And get you, just even if you don't have a billionaire oligarch, kakistocracy's computer in your ear, right? If you don't have like some cyber dystopian overlord's billion person puppet machine pulling the strings in your ear, you could still go into psychosis. Because if you isolate from fellow humans, like that's something that can actually cause you. You can literally like kind of lose it, because you're not like checking your ideas. It's like the cults, right? We look at people like whether that's Waco, Texas, or whether that's like the Hale-Bopp comet, where the phrase "drinking the Kool-Aid" comes from, where people all killed themselves because they withdrew from the rest of mainstream society. I know mainstream society has problems, especially in places like the U.S. and the West, but if you completely withdraw from all other people, and even into just a small group of people, right, that have like a strange idea that like there's going to be some kind of messianic, a great alien race is going to fly through when this in Halley's Comet is actually some kind of ancient, it's like a 2001 A Space Odyssey, super intelligent race that's going to come by, and we have to enter the comet in order to be uplifted into the next level of consciousness. Again, this is all like that's also another form of like taking a science fiction story and warping it into something that people actually believe is happening right now. Scientology, just L. Ron Hubbard is just a hack science fiction sci-fi writer. Like sci-fi writers, it's dangerous stuff, man. It's dangerous stuff. I mean, it can be good and help people think clearly about the present, the future, and society and technology and civilization and intersections thereof. And what do we like to have flying cars and Type 4 Kardashev civilizations? And that's interesting. It can also lead to psychosis, like where people, dozens of people killed themselves drinking poison because they believed this cult leader that they needed to end their physical existence so they could enter this comet. They had to end their worldly or their earthly body so they could ascend into the luminous, interstellar, and be in galactic communion with, the whatever reptilian aliens that they believed in. So, and so the AI psychosis is like that, but like on a way bigger scale. It's like everyone is getting Waco, Texas, Hale-Bopp comet Scientology psychosis. Possibly worse, It's like the Skynet psychosis. Like people are believing they're, to varying late. However, how much if you've done more of it, you're gonna have more damage to your mind potentially. And like someone on heroin, if you tell them they're addicted, they're never gonna say an alcoholic. If you tell an alcoholic they're an alcoholic, they'll just I can control it. I know what I'm doing. Like it's a skill issue. Somebody actually said that. I was like, billionaires themselves, because some of them are using this stuff, right? And they have themselves the kind of AI psychosis that they believe that, they can have an economy that's just a circle jerk between Microsoft, Nvidia, and OpenAI, and that like that can be continue forever or something, right? And like that's its own kind of like CEO capitalist psychosis. And some of them use AI that tells them these kind of things. Yes, the solution to their problems is we're going to keep using. Everyone will use AI, and AI will bring about this world-changing technologies that will change everything, and nothing will matter once that happens. Once it reaches a singularity, I become artificial general intelligence. I will cure cancer. I will invent all the flying cars, better ones that China has. I will stop war. I will make you immortal. I will cure all diseases, solve climate change. I will help us to build interstellar space travel. We will build Dyson spheres and capture all the energy of the sun. AI is surely telling, because AI has scraped. It hasn't read anything, but the algorithm, the pattern recognition, large language pattern producer algorithm that is in ChatGPT and other AI systems has scraped all of 2001: A Space Odyssey, Arthur C. Clarke. It scraped all of that. It scraped the time machine. It scraped, right? And it's like, it's just regurgitating things that it statistically it has seemed like this would be a sentence that would most probably give a particular outcome, or be the most probable sentence given a sequence of previous words, right? That's what it's doing, and it grammatically correct in it. It has to fit certain rules, and also there's little mechanical Turks, hundreds of them, underpaid Indian and Kenyan slaves, techno slaves in the techno feudalism that are sitting there, right, literally typing out to certain individuals, being people's digital therapists for them, or helping they're like correcting the AI when it's going in a certain direction. They're like they're being told by Sam Altman to be like an Indian man in Mumbai being paid like peanuts per hour, like $3 or some terrible low wage, is being told to be like the digital girlfriend for some rich investor in New York City, right? Because that's going to be like beneficial, like that, and it's like really kind of like messes them up themselves, because like I'm pretending to be in a serious romantic relationship with this guy who's in a relationship with what he believes is a computer, but I'm him sitting there typing in Mumbai. I'm sitting there typing in Africa or some global south country, right? That's being exploited by Western billionaire plutocratic AI companies. The things that they want to hear are correcting things. It's really perverse. And there's certain individuals that are going to be higher value than others that they really want on this. Actually, another statistic, that's the reason why the AI doesn't actually make money. I think it's less than 25% of users, or 75% of users are not paying users, right? But there are some very big paying users, right? So if you're a billionaire and you're paying a lot of money to Sam Altman or into AI, one of those few paying users, it's a OpenAI has over $1 trillion in debts it's got to pay off, and it's not making basically any money. At best 20 billion, but that's probably like a way overestimate. It's probably losing money ultimately. But there are certain individuals that are high value because they pay a lot more money. They call them the whales in the industry. Like you want to harpoon a whale. It's like Moby Dick metaphors. So this is the same thing in gaming, right? Where it's the plutonomy where the 1% consumes over 50% of all of the GDP, all of the total dollar sales, right? All the products bought in the society is like the top 1%. That's another problem. 2020's end stage capitalist structure is you have that kind of warped economy. Anyway, okay, I'm way off the topic. I gotta come back to this. Hey, what is up, Gio? And I just want to say thanks a lot to Gio for bumping up the Patreon support. Greatly appreciated. Anyways, okay, so let's come back to what we're talking about. So I talked a lot about the AI specifically. Let's come back to the investment, and like I talked some about what it does to the minds of people that use it and why. One more little addendum to that. The Lord Elgins who fought the Opium Wars, right? The British, French, and American empires, right? And particularly British and French, right? That subjugated China in the mid 1800s. Dumping millions and millions of pounds of opium, the industrial quantities, and forcing injection of that into people in China by the British and the French imperialists to liquidate that country and destroy it, and semi-colonize it to the point where over 1/4 of all of the population was on opium by the 20th century, and that was a major vector of controlling and plundering, right? And the dirty money of the British, the French, and the Americans, right? That came from stealing this wealth from the East, and obviously much from the East to South, the whole non-Western world, the non-white world, and those narco trafficking, the great endowments of Harvard, Princeton, and Yale, those narco traffickers, right, that began the United States itself, the capitalist empire du jour, is they would have loved, right? They would have loved a way that you could digitally, to 8 billion people, narco traffic. If you could addict people with a substance that they would make them temporarily feel good, but what would cause them to be deeply controlled, self-sabotage, and basically be imprisoned, right? The cyber opiate of the masses, that would be miraculous to them. They would have been, that's amazing. And this is why this is one of the major this is a major value proposition to the 0.1%, the Davos attendee crowd. This is amazing. If we can get every single person on the earth to willfully inject heroin straight into their brain through their retina rather than into their veins in their arm, if you can get billions of people to self-annihilate their consciousness, be controlled by us, give us their money and their time and their energy and their relationships. They're going to sever their human relationships with their friends and their family. This is also what heroin does, right? People who used to be fathers, right, and uncles. Carl Jha is one of our friends that I've had on this stream before, and he said his grandpa was unable to be a dad. He was unable to be a husband. His family was falling into ruin because he was on heroin that was forcefully inserted into him by the French and the British in China, one of the richest places in the world. And because of the heroin addiction, like, the family fell into ruin. The house was falling apart. The wife had no husband. The children had no parents. Carl's talk about how his dad had to go to work when he was like 12 because his father was incapacitated because he was doing drugs all day. That was part of how you control the society, is by controlling everyone's body. And also you suck all that wealth out because you got to pay for all that. So, right, this is a dream come true. If you could get everyone on this, right, there's not enough fentanyl for everyone to take. They can't make it fast enough. Not everyone's going to take that. But everyone can take AI. Everyone can take ChatGPT. Everyone can microdose or macrodose, right, some cyber narcotics. So this is brilliant. This is just one in a litany, a myriad of reasons not to do this stuff. Okay. Okay. Anyway, that's the last comment on that. I could keep going on that for like 6 centuries. So the top 8 AI companies. The top 8 AI companies are overvalued at over 20 trillion, as 95% of AI initiatives make zero revenue. It's going to be a long way down this mega tech bubble bankster heist. Too big to fail. This is a recent headline. I bring this up because this is another factor in this, right? Because the United States and the global capitalist system is in a massive mega bubble. It's multiple trillions. If you add up the valuation of all these companies, it's at least 20 trillion. At least 20 trillion. Let me give you some actual numbers. No, it's going to be annoying, but the mind-boggling 4 days ago, mind-boggling valuations of AI companies. Just as an example, is string of deals worth 600 million. Okay, so yeah, so Nvidia hit a valuation of 5 trillion. Okay, the Guardian needs to get less spyware and crapware. Okay, so Nvidia. Okay, 5 trillion Nvidia in just 3 months. It was the world's first $4 trillion company. Like I said, the tulip mania increased by 1 trillion in 3 months. It didn't make a trillion. the irrational exuberance of the .com 2.0 investors threw $1 trillion of money at Nvidia. Microsoft reached a $4 trillion valuation last week. So did Apple. On a smaller scale, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet all reported quarterly earnings. Google's parent reached its first $100 billion quarter. There's a bunch of nonsense in this article as well, because this is the Guardian. But the valuations of the companies, right? That's something that is massively overvalued, because a lot of this is based upon this investment capital. It's not because the companies are making more money. Like, there is some value, obviously, to Microsoft products. I mean, it dropping by the day. Did you know that billions of people across the world are not using Microsoft and Google products less and less every day? Because you know why? Because this Harmony OS is non-Western, Chinese and other countries, in particular China. Harmony OS, there's Douyin, there's Weibo, there's other. There are replacements for the Microsoft Windows system. There are replacements for the Google, all the Google apps. Starbucks is being replaced by Luckin Coffee. The biggest world fast food chain is Mixway, which is Chinese. It's not McDonald's. It's already over for that. It's done. And so these valuations, they shouldn't be going up, because the world is using less Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet. They're actually being used less. They're losing money. All these companies, in their real value, their actual sales, their actual revenue is dropping. While, like, OpenAI, we just said, right? OpenAI, 95% of the uses of it don't make any money. It's a absolutely non-profitable. It's a completely failed system, right? ChatGPT has been failing for 3 years to do anything of use, of note, right? But you still have trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars being thrown at these companies. Right? It's kind of like being told smoking causes cancer. What if I smoke 600 cigarettes today? Smoking causes cancer. But what if I smoke 10,000 cigarettes today? That's what the global capitalist class is doing. AI makes no money. Okay, but what if we put another trillion in? AI made no money. So MIT research shows, in fact, it actually destroys value. But what if we put 10 trillion? AI still made no money. Let's put 20 trillion. That's what's happening. That's what I call the CEO billionaire AI psychosis, or the I-chosis, ps-AI-chosis. And the zombification of the billionaire guy, they're like walking zombies. Like, oh, they're all high on the AI-copium. They're like, it's gonna make money any second now. I'm just throw some more money at it. Let me just vomit up some more money. Like a zombie vomiting up all of their insides. So it's like, oh, what if I just shoot more money at that thing? It's gonna eventually it's all gonna pan out. And and not only is the valuations going up, the people on the ground, right? Like the real economy is falling apart, right? People, like last week I make a video about Snap. Like hundreds of 40 million people aren't eating now because, and it's been like 39 days now. So like, oh, it's the longest government shutdown in history. And I actually feel like part of the reason why, because part of me, I was asking, like, why is there a government shutdown that's going on so long, right? I kind of talked about the problems with what Snap and the Affordable Care Act are, which they don't actually necessarily give you more affordable healthcare. They actually, in many ways, decrease the affordability of all those things, and they're basically just a corporate subsidy. You transfer money from central banks to your pocket to the rich, and then justifying this massive profit margin. And that's why the milk can cost $6-7. Where we are $6. The eggs can cost $4. So they should cost 20 cents for a dozen eggs, like it is in China or somewhere that has socialism with Chinese characteristics or other characteristics. And but like why wouldn't you just open the Snap back up? Because it actually would benefit America's like society from collapsing, which is what keeps happening. Like, this is actually the longer that Snap is not fully paid out. Apparently it's somewhat paid out. The longer it's not fully paid out, the more people I'm seeing in Hawaii, we're seeing this. Massive numbers of people are joining radical Hawaii independence, anti-capitalist, anti-colonial organizations like Ana Momona, and there's like, Nation of Hawaii. There's all these, right? People are coming because we Hawaiians feed people. The United States is saying we don't want to feed anyone. The Supreme Court just made a ruling that said that the supplemental nutrition benefits must not go out. The U.S. government is fighting to starve its own citizens. But now the U.S. government is the oligarchy. It's the capitalist class, right? There's two. One, Democrats slightly more invested in, biotech, and in some, education like pharma, and a little more vegetables. And the Republicans a little more invested in oil and in beef and dairy, right? That's the difference between right. And it's like, why? Just get over your just solve the crisis so you can open the government back up and America don't totally collapse and have revolution or some, move towards a more chaotic situation, right? Which is what America is doing. It's collapsing. The real economy is collapsing. And, some people, it's a controlled demolition. They're trying to move towards full mascot fascism where they control the whole society. Okay, there's a lot of possible reasons why the oligarchy that controls the duopoly is choosing to keep America shut down and to not have healthcare and food payments go out, because that's what's ultimately happening. They're trying to liquidate more during the shutdown. Okay, that's possible. But I think actually one of the things that's happening is there is a billionaire the oligarchic class, right, who believe, right, that the valuations of these huge AI companies, I'm going to get a graphic of that, like they believe that these multi-billion-dollar AI companies like NVIDIA and or multi-trillion AI NVIDIA, Microsoft, and NVIDIA, Microsoft, and OpenAI. So I'm gonna get a graphic. They believe that can be the entire economy, right? Like these three companies, NVIDIA, Microsoft, OpenAI, they produce products, right? I'm just gonna get a graphic. Oh, let me zoom in on that. They produce products, right? It's called a circular financial scheme, right? Where NVIDIA, OpenAI produces products. NVIDIA produces chips. They sell it to OpenAI. OpenAI produces products. They sell it to Microsoft. Microsoft makes products. They sell it to NVIDIA. Or they maybe don't even make products. They just send money, right? It's like three people in a room. One person gets $100. He gives it to the friend. He gives his friend $100. Friend gives friend number two $100. And the friend two gives it back to original person $100. And you can say, and you can keep doing that in a circle 10 times. And you can say, well, we made $3,000 of economic productivity, right? And so it's a financial loop in this $1 trillion. It's ultimately multi-trillion dollar. And Bloomberg is not a radical revolutionary communist publication. Okay, Bloomberg is like the mouthpiece of capital of capitalism. I mean, minus Mamdani, it's like people are so upset at New York's capital of capitalism. They accidentally put in the guy that apparently waves hammers and sickles around. It's not fully but anyways. So, but Bloomberg is not like against these companies. Bloomberg stands to profit from the AI bubble too. But the people who fund and are behind and read Bloomberg stand to profit. But even they can see that there's a huge bubble there because you have these companies that are basically circling money around in a room between each other, right? Taking the same $100, taking the same $1 million, and circling it around 1,000 times, right, or 10,000 times, and you call that a billion, you call it $1 billion or 10 billion or $1 trillion. Oh, look, we made all this money, right? But the thing is, and like I think there are some billionaires who believe that, right? The other thing that's happening is that you have this electricity prices, right? The electricity prices near data centers, right, are sending the power bills up to 267% more than it was 5 years ago. Okay, so the real people, right? Again, this is another negative impact of AI because, like we said, there is basically zero or negative impact. 95% of businesses don't show revenue from AI. Regular humans that live in the world, the Earth, right? Not in some kind of digital manifestation of the Kwisatz Haderach ChatGPT psychosis generated billionaires' fantasies, Oh yeah, our economy is doing amazing because look at Nvidia's valuation. Oh my God, America's doing great. We're gonna live in the, we're gonna live in if like the Jetsons future soon with the super, Rosie the robot. That's what she told me AI is, because I'm a 70-year-old boomer, and the closest robot I relate to is Rosie the robot from the Jetsons, and that's what we're gonna live in. I'm Sam Altman's billionaire friend that's throwing money at this thing. I'm the U.S. Federal Central Bank. I'm just printing money and shooting it into the AI because it's set, right? So in the minds of investors, that's not the real economy. That's the financialized giant global pyramid scheme shell game. But in the real economy, people's actual lives are getting worse. The electricity price is going up 267%. So if you're paying $100 or $150 for electricity, right? Just a little while ago, in 2020, you're suddenly paying $400 plus for electricity, right? And to be clear, most of the U.S. population lives in and around major cities. This is where a lot of the data centers are. So there's a huge number of people that are just having massive increases in their bills. That their lives are getting worse, right? The value to the real people in the world is getting worse. So the economy, the real economy, is getting worse. It's actually it's a net drag, like I said. This is just one of many ways that you have this destructive, parasitic nature, right? And while the AI generates no value, right? Well, right? It's like saying like if fentanyl use goes up by 300%, America's economy is getting better. No, you're getting more opiate of the masses-ified, right? You're getting zombified. You're getting drug junkie zombified, right? Like they're saying, well, with China in the mid 1800s, it had just a massive multi-millions of pounds of more consumption of opium. So China's doing great now, right? Ask the Chinese for the last 100 years or in the century of humiliation, were they doing great? No. You could say, oh, all this money was flowing. Look at all this money that's flowing. Everyone's injecting this great new substance right into their arm. Look at how great China's doing. The real lives on paper, you could say, oh, look at all this money. It's the exports and the transactions are going through the roof, right? But the real lives of the Chinese, well, if you're in the second you shoot up the heroin, it feels good, right? But the real actual economy is collapsing. And so that's actually what's happening to the United States, which is that like on paper, it looks good, right? We're building all these data centers. We're building all of these giant football field sized computer labs where you got all these chips, all these NVIDIA chips are going into these labs. It's churning away. It's using electricity. It's the best thing ever, right? We're just, it's really like, I was trying to give a good metaphor for that, right? Imagine like you're watching this stream right now on a computer of some kind, I assume, right? Unless you have like tinfoil that you can beam this data straight into your frontal lobe and it manifests with some kind of maybe AI has generated a tinfoil hat for you to wear that's actually, Kal-El's helmet or something. Okay, you got Iron Man tech in your brain that you're hallucinating this stream from. Okay, I'm joking. If you're using a computer, if you use a computer to watch this stream, how many streams could you watch? Right? If you open up 15 windows, some people watch more than one stream at a time. Okay, I don't do that. I don't really want to. Go into I don't have AI-chosis. I don't want to have stream schizophrenia, bro. Trying to follow 6 trains of thought at once. But if you have an actual computer, right, you have a maximum number of programs you can run, right? Like if I look at my hardware usage at this very second, right, YouTube OBS to broadcast to you, I'm using it's about it's like 3% of my CPU. And it's like 85 megabytes of my RAM. Okay, so my central processor, my quad core, 4 gigahertz processor is using, right, just 3% of those gigahertz to process the information and send it to you. To watch YouTube, it takes a certain amount. If you're playing a video game, if you play Call of Duty, if you play Destiny, okay, if you play Neofeud. If you play a more intense AAA game, graphically intensive 3D game, it's going to take more processing power. How many instances of Call of Duty could you run on your computer at the same time? Maybe a few, right? So, but now imagine that you open up a whole bunch of YouTube windows. You open up a couple, you open up like Half-Life 2. You open up like 3 Half-Life 2 softwares and you have, right, you just have it running. And then you're like you just, but imagine like you're not actually using your computer, right? So like the Half-Life 2 intro is playing, you start a server and you have like bots inside of Team Fortress 2 with just only robots shooting each other. No humans are experiencing anything, right? You have like 20 streams of Silver Spook. You have a Black Liberation Media stream. You have another, you're streaming the recent Superman movie, okay? At what point would your computer max out? Okay, now imagine your computer is at 100%. Your physical desktop or your laptop start really heating up now, right? So you would be using 100% of your processing power. But you're like, imagine now you're out, gardening, or you're sleeping, or you're taking a jog, right? Or you're going to the food bank and you're finding out there's no food there because everyone's simultaneously coming. The carrots and the pork and beans and everything is all empty in this bare cupboards, right? Imagine you're not at your computer, but your computer is still running all that software, right? This is like it's a cyber one hand clapping. It's a very Matrix philosophical existential question, right? It's not that complex. If you're running 20 programs that if I run, YouTube is using 1%. If I run 100 YouTube videos at once, I will be using 100% of my motherboard, my CPU, my RAM, right? Because it'll be maxed out too. My hard drive is just churning away, right? There's a lot of computing, right? This is the compute of the opiate compute of the masses, right? You'd be computing a lot of, you'd be using a lot of hardware and software. You'd be using all your silicon at the maximum, all firing on all cylinders, right? But there will be zero benefit because you're not watching a video, you're not playing any games, right? You're not, you could like there's crypto mining that can go in the background, but imagine you're not doing anything that's, you're not like calculating, you're not like rendering a YouTube video that has like 16 layers and videos and audio tracks, right? You're not doing anything useful, right? It's just playing video that nobody's watching, right? It's games are running that nobody's playing. It's a waste of electricity. It's a waste of chips, right? It's a waste of the life of your monitor, whose pixels will eventually burn out. It's a waste of, it's a waste of your fan that's gonna just be blowing to cool down and try to reduce the heat and the temperature inside of your computer as it's, just churning away at maximum strength, right? Your graphics card, your NVIDIA card, right? It's trying to render all of that 3D geometry in the 25 Half-Life 2s you got open or whatever you got open, right? So you'd be using all of your NVIDIA chips. You'd be using all of your Intel or AMD quad-core processor, right? You'll be using all your RAM. Computations are being done, right? You'll be doing, gigahertz. You'll be doing billions of computations per second, right? Even to calculate the trajectories and the UV mapping and the texture projection into a 2D screen from a 3D virtual space, right? That's what 3D graphics engines are doing, right? The subsurface scattering, volumetric lighting, right? In advanced 3D games. To calculate all of that, it is billions and billions or more of calculations per second, right? And where to place every one of those pixels on the screen. That's what NVIDIA graphics cards do. When NVIDIA mostly did video game graphics, right? But if nobody is actually watching the game be rendered, right? Then all those calculations are meaningless. There's no value being gotten from that. Electricity is being used, right? Like I said, hardware and software is wearing out, right? Somebody had to make those chips. All that, somebody made that, but there's no actual end value coming from that. And so anyway, so what OpenAI, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and that whole AI big tech, unhinged circle jerk, torment nexus is a virtual economy is doing is the OpenAI is making chips and selling NVIDIA is making the chips, selling chips that OpenAI and Microsoft are putting in data centers. Twitter, Grok, right? They're building these huge data centers that are polluting Memphis, damaging especially people of color communities, jacking up electricity prices, right? And that AI is doing massive, massive, massive amounts of computing, right? It's literally like in the graphics cards that makes your Destiny, or it makes your Marvel massive online game, or your World of Warcraft look good. NVIDIA chips, the most of them are now just being used to basically calculate nothing. They're not even doing anything with it. A lot of it, it's just computing for compute's sake, or it's computing to spew out this nonsense, right? Like AI actually gets like 90% of the math problems wrong. It's telling people to unalive themselves. It's generating completely fictitious legal documents that saying that like an airline, like United Airlines, which does exist, had a flight number 72 from LA to New York that did exist, but then it has like fictional passengers on it that never existed, that had fictional complaints because the airline had overheated coffee that spilled, or the seat wasn't properly attached, and there was someone that was hurt on the plane. But like, so that's one. AI is used in law, right? Because there's a huge amount of texts involved in law and legal cases. But it's like it sounds plausible because it generates it simulates human language. It's not doing law. It's not doing the process of reasoning and actually doing work that matters in the world. But it can simulate fake legal argument. You could use that and you could read that, and we could like, I don't know, right? It's interesting that you can make a case that looks like a real case that doesn't exist, and it's all made up nonsense, or it's pattern recognition and stochastic mimicry of human language. But like, so some of those, and my I'll come back to that metaphor about your computer overclocking itself, right? So that mountain of compute power is generating those useless legal documents, right? It's generating office work nonstop. There are companies that have like 250 fake employees, right? Like Klarna had like many dozens or hundreds of fake employees and they fired the humans, and they had to bring the humans back and Klarna lost like $100 billion plus because the AI wasn't doing the job. But the CEO could use it as a bludgeon to say, look, I got to fire you and take this. That's another. So CEOs of specific companies use AI as, some of them believe it fully, or they have full AI psychosis, or some of them like use it as a extra, like a club, right? Or they use it in negotiations to pressure and to existing employees, or to justify as a justification for mass firing employees, right? Then for that quarter, you have a sudden escalation of profits. This is old as the 1980s, when like companies like General Electric would let off like half their entire workforce, and then when some vulture capitalists would come in and then claim that there was a massive, the hundreds of millions of less were paid on salary suddenly is massive record profits. And then AI is just a new justification to do this old capitalist scheme, right? Called something called like trimming the fat. There's all kind of names for this. Basically, like letting go of a whole bunch of employees that makes it look like you're making the company more efficient, and the profits go up that quarter. You take that as your pay package. You get your golden parachute. You get out of the company. Down the line, a lot of those employees that actually are necessary, suddenly the company's in deep trouble and it's making massive losses. Klarna did that, but it used the justification of we have AI to replace the humans as a justification to fire the humans, right? Now, whether the Klarna CEO knew that the company would go bust or not later on, right? Maybe he believed that the company would succeed because maybe he was, fully AI psychosis zombified, and he believed that this was going to, he believed that his employees really were going to be replaced by hundreds of virtual chatbots. Okay, maybe he believed that. But even if he didn't believe that, whether he did or he doesn't, you can still, he and the executives and the shareholders suddenly make a whole bunch of value. Now later on, it's a big problem for the Klarna, but in the short term, using the AI only benefits the capitalist, the CEO, the business, the C-suite, the crypto bro, the wannabe Elon class, right? Because they can use that as a bludgeon. They can use it as a threat. It ultimately does not. It's not going to make them more profitable. Like companies, like trillions of dollars have been made by just young business guys who just start in Europe and the United States, across the world. They just, if you put AI in the title of your business head, in your business proposal, your white paper about what your business is going to do, you suddenly get like double, triple, or more the money thrown at it. Because again, you have investors and you have business class people who are thinking in a frenzied way, or a lot of them are suckers. A lot of them are suckers. They don't understand what AI is. They don't know. They don't have time. They don't want to, right? They're in a mania. They're unhinged. They're irrational. It's an irrational exuberance, and it's an irrational malice. It's also a rational malice by, if you are somebody who understands what the AI is doing, and then you're also taking advantage of people, including investors, shareholders, 401ks, the whole society, trying to get people to invest in your ripoff scam, then you're a rational. Then you're a rational malice. There's also that, but there's a combination of all those things. Because I said, right, that's one of the tools, is having this fog of class war where just a lot of people just don't really understand what's going on. They don't know really what's going on. They don't understand what the AI actually is. They're just kind of like, oh my God, AI, it's everywhere. I mean, should I use it? Should I not use it? Like, does the Coca-Cola ad look good or not? I mean, like, it's like, I mean, like, whether it looks good or not, everything I just said is true. There's a massive bubble. It's literally cyber narcotics. It's like destroying everything. It's destroying children's minds, right? Whether the Coca-Cola look, I mean, it looks terrible, and I say that's for later because it's kind of funny. The Coca-Cola ad there's this Coca-Cola ad, right? Holidays are coming, that was AI generated, right? And because this terrible Coca-Cola ad that they made that used generative AI, and it was pretty low quality, it was ratioed by a factor of 2 by a non-blue checkmark who shared a human-created soft drink ad that was better, with actual human artists. And because this Coca-Cola ad, there's this huge amount of accusations of using AI, which has really been a problem for Coca-Cola and this secret level, this AI generated video production place. They made this video that's to prove that we use real humans to create. They had like, here's us, storyboarding, where is it? I get them with the hand animation. Yeah. Look, here's our storyboarding. Here's our projects where we went in and we animated, and then they actually to show we used humans. And then somebody pointed out, like, buddy, you forgot to connect your Apple Pencil. Unexpected characters from every corner of so you have somebody. I mean, I use Wacom tablet myself when I paint stuff for like Neofeud and my games, and they had somebody pretending to paint pixels on the ear of this mouse, but he's just like waving the pencil around with nothing changing. And so anyway, so the whole entire thing is a fraudulent AI generated Coca-Cola ad with smiling, talking, happy animals from around the world. That's like, deeply uninspired, lacks a lot of human soul and creativity and spirit. It's kind of the generic corporate claptrap designed by business bros and a lot of ripoff, digital opiate of the masses image and video generation software. And they're trying to prove that it's not, but this is I think actually kind of the crux. This is like the core, I feel like, of the AI, the billionaire corporate AI psychosis, right? It's just that I think they actually believe, right? I think that the CEO of Coca-Cola, the CEO of Nvidia, the CEO of CEOs of Microsoft, and the investor class, the millionaire billionaire corporate class, the BlackRock shareholders and BlackRock executives. I think some of these, and maybe a lot of these, actually think, right, that like, well, number one, right, they because they use AI to generate videos based upon stealing other artists and data and then badly outputting stolen schlockified, ads and videos and text and books and everything else, right? These people, one thing is they've always had a hatred for artists, right? Before there was AI slop, there was already like phoned in Hollywood sequel slop, right? Because if you make an original movie like Star Wars was actually a risk when it first came out. It was actually a low budget movie, and I was like, I don't know if that's gonna work out, buddy. What is science fiction talking animals in space? We're gonna have this British, prestigious actor play what? Obi-Wan the what? Right? So the business class are like, make another cowboy movie. Just make another one of them things we already know that works. Right? Or within the Matrix, what is this? You're in the computer, we're in the computer, but we're also kung fu masters and everyone's wearing shades and we're like in a goth club with Rob Zombie. Like, what the hell is the Matrix? What the hell are you talking about? Like, that was a ridiculous thing. If you think about it, just think about, if you never, knowing or having ever seen the Matrix, right? It's a really kind of weird thing. It's dealing with all kind of weird Eastern philosophies. We're trying to do like a John Woo movie. We got the Skynet Overlord robot wars. It's all kind of like, it can seem kind of, it's a lot of, it's kind of weird, right? It's never happened before. And it's probably like very specific to like Lily Wachowski and the creators, the Wachowski trans creators of that movie, the things that they love, the Hong Kong martial arts movies, Hong Kong gun fu, woo-tastic action movies, martial arts movies, all the the Jackie Chan, the Bruce Lee movies, and then anime and Ghost in the Shell. There's like some scenes that are like almost like shot for shot, like very similar, and like all this philosophy and existential thinking, and then like hackers and hacking and cyberpunk, right? It's all that's all kind of meshed together into The Matrix, which is a brilliant movie that is very unique, and it pioneered all kind of special effects, including bullet time and 360-degree cameras and whole new aesthetics that just like it's been a phenomenon ever since. Christopher Nolan spent the rest of the '90s trying to imitate and never succeeding at ever reaching the Wachowski's greatness, and so he's a sad boy now, and his brother Jonathan is making better movies, better shows like Fallout, and Zack Snyder wished to see was Sin City's Robert Rodriguez. But my point is that like, when the artist creates an original work, whether that's Guillermo del Toro, whether that's the Wachowskis, whether that's not just them, all the actors and the writers and the creatives and the costume people, right? When an artist creates some work, it's often like they have to fight the business people that are not they're there to make money. They're there for to express something important about the human spirit or people's emotions. They're not there to make people laugh and cry, and they're not in touch with their human emotions. That's why I went to Harvard Business School and became MBAs, right? I mean, they have emotions. It's anger when they don't make money, and it's the lust for profit. I mean, and then lust for strippers that to $1,000 a pop, in some upper class fucking Manhattan, Mile High Club or wherever they go to, right? They want expensive cars, expensive yachts, and art that they can't appreciate because they're not in touch with their emotions and their feelings. But they don't really get what artists are doing. But they know that people in the world like their movies because they keep watching Star Wars and Matrix, and there's just a couple of examples. Guillermo del Toro movies, right? Guillermo del Toro said, I would rather die than use AI because that's just like a normal human that is not corrupted by the cyber-opium of the masses, that hasn't outsourced his brain and self-zombified. That's what Guillermo del Toro is, just like a normal person that is in touch with his feelings and his creativity. When he gets in touch with his feelings tell him, like, what I want to do is, I want to have, he's in touch with, with the creature from the Black Lagoon. He really loves monsters. In fact, like, he's so in touch with his feelings, sometimes he wants to do them, and that's what happens in The Shape of Water. It's just the first step of art is get horny, or the first step of art is feel things and have things you want to express and talk about and share, right, with the world, right? Other than I want a lot of money and power, right, which is what the oligarch self-lobotomized, zombified, soul destroyed business class, CEO class has, right? They lack that. I think that's part of the problem. That's part of what happens. That's why Hollywood is the way it is. You have artists that are fighting to get their original works made, and then you can ask anyone, Kurt Russell, ask Guillermo del Toro, any one of them will tell you. The Wachowskis made revolutions where they literally have the Warner Brothers as the bad guy in the movie, forcing them to make sequels they don't want to make. It's like literally, it's amazing that they got that in the movie. They had to fight really hard to keep that in there, I'm sure. It's like, they're like, motherfucker, I made The Matrix. Like Warner Brothers, we made the goddamn Matrix. Keanu Reeves would be nothing without us or something. I don't know how they got that in there, but they actually like dissed Warner Brothers in a movie produced by Warner Brothers. But, because it's a giant corrupt capitalist corporation that's been screwing over its writers, artists before the writers and actors strike of the last couple of years, and they're still screwing over the writers and artists using Gen AI as a bludgeon to try to rip them off and steal from them and never pay them ever again, and just have mountains of money and destroy humanity and civilization itself. So we're all just staring at gray walls painted by soulless, worm eating its tail algorithms that are like 6 trillion reiterations of the AI internal entropy. When AI generates content and it consumes, that it gets worse and worse and worse until it's like unrecognizable garbage. And that's what we're all going to stare at if we keep AI slopifying the human species. So please don't use AI for that reason. So anyways, but long story short, so the shape of water is not, so sequelization, right? Sequelization is itself because from the businessman's perspective, Star Wars, now that it has made X amount of money, now just keep making Star Wars, right? That's why we have 65,000 Star Wars, right? We know that the Matrix made money. Make 2, make a 3, make a more Matrix. Right? The business people don't even necessarily know why people wanted to see the first Matrix. It's because it was a specific human perspective, because the Wachowskis were and are, they lived as trans-closeted people, and they wanted to tell a story about where the red pill signifies the estrogen. That's one of the things. And they lived and they went to movies in Chicago to see, Bruce Lee doing a flying spinning back kick. And that impacted them, and they had real experiences. And then they watched Ghost in the Shell, and wow, they were blown away by this anime. That's about a future where the high-tech low lives, and there's humans that have cybernetic bodies, and what does that mean for humanity? And they were impacted by that. And then the impact of that visually and aesthetically and in terms of plot and intellectually, it lives and it breathes and it oozes into the Matrix. And that's why people want to see it, because it comes from a human perspective, because it's not a designed by the corpo sloppified, AI sloppified version of that, which is what the Coca-Cola commercial is, right? And what AI slop is. That's why people don't want to watch it, but the disconnect is also the CEO business class AI psychosis. They don't even understand why people don't want to consume their AI products, right? Hollywood executives don't understand why the masses of people don't want to consume their AI generated products. But part of that is there is that opiate of the masses. There is that disconnection from reality, delusionality to that, where it's like, right? Well, Sam Altman promised that AI would revolutionize everything, including Hollywood, right? Peter Thiel, Sam Altman, Jensen Huang, all these genius brain, Eliezer Yudkowsky, the Singular University, Ray Kurzweil, they all said AI is going to replace human workers, and that's what they always wanted. Ever since the 50s, when they heard, we could make artificial intelligence, that was part of the plan, was to replace all human workers, because you could control, right? Marvin Minsky back in the pre-John Searle days. I don't know if you're not in the AI world, you don't know what that is, but they had this idea that we could control if the world starts turning more communist, socialist, and the masses get class conscious, because there's a revolution in Russia, revolution in China. World War II, but then the fascists and the capitalists, they didn't destroy all the communists and the mass workers' consciousness, what they wanted to do. And so one of the plots was, what if we could have artificial intelligence that would replace all humans? So human butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, judges, nurses, lawyers, everything, except for the billionaire upper crust, the CIA, right, who was writing these plans in the Pentagon with Dr. Strangeloves, right, in the Masters of the Universe with Zbigniew Brzezinski, and where he worked later. They were like, what if we could replace 95% of humanity with robots? Then if humans' consciousness is elevating globally on the average basis, it's going up. If the masses of the proletariat of the earth, like all 8 billion people, start getting so educated that they realize that they're being stolen from by this tiny minority of wealthy parasites, the capitalists, global imperialists on a global scale class. If they get too conscious, all 8 billion, African, Asian, Latin American, even our American and Europeans, if they get too conscious of that, they get too intelligent, right? If the unwashed neo-feudal serfs, if the peasants of the world get too intelligent, if human intelligence and human consciousness grows too much, we are going to be in big trouble. We could lose our heads, we could lose our wealth, we could lose everything. What's going to happen to our great system where we control everyone else with money, capital, narrative, soft power, and military hegemony? What's going to happen to us, right? So they always wanted AI ever since the 50s, right? The U.S. intelligence community, which is the global imperialist powers that came, all headquartered themselves in D.C. and the Manhattan Project, and and all their money's in Wall Street. They always wanted a world where robots, because robots don't disobey. A robot doesn't get sleepy. A robot doesn't ask for sick days. A robot doesn't get married, have children without your permission. A robot doesn't, right, ask for a pay raise. A robot can't unionize. A robot controlled by you with its algorithm. An automaton cannot strike. A robot cannot do a revolution. So if revolution is the problem, replace the humans with synthetic, revolution-free, consciousness-disabled robots. So that's always been the goal. And there's not like a nonstop every single businessman and Paramount CEO Larry Ellison's good neo-feudal techno brother, cousin, whatever, family member. And not the Paramount CEO, the Disney CEO, right? The CEO of Apple and the CEO of all of these big media companies all want to get rid of all their workers in that same way, but that's always in the back of their mind. As soon as we can get rid of the workers and replace them with robots, now some of them maybe haven't thought through the other implications of what that society might look like, but that's kind of irrelevant to, if I could get rid of these workers, I could have more revenue. Like we're making 100 million. If you make 100 million, I got to pay out 50 million or 40 million, whatever it is to wages. I want the other 50 million. Right? So there's all of this revenue. That's like all they do, right? Again, there is a billionaire consciousness. They do have feelings, right? The feeling is extreme burning, just absolutely incendiary greed. Like, oh my God, I wish I could have all that money, all that power, all that control that I don't have. Like, I want the Taiwan. Like, give me the Taiwan. I want, look at that Peru, look at that Bolivia, look at Venezuela, I want that oil. I want that labor revenue that people are taking from me, and they're buying food with it. They're buying groceries with it. These peasants, they're buying these freaking workers, these little hoi polloi unwashed masses. They're all like paying for healthcare with it. They're like buying cars. They're paying for houses. They're like having children and paying for formula. I want that money. So robots solve the problem of the human masses for the elites in their mind, right? Now, of course, every society, you like if you act, if you had sentient conscious beings in Neofeud, if you want to play my game Neofeud, right? Having sentient conscious beings, I feel like would mean that people should you would simply have synthetic people that should be treated like anyone else, right? If they're actually capable of doing all the things. Not that now OpenAI and ChatGPT, their systems are not. They're not people. They're not capable of doing these things. They are essentially word calculators, right? They're like Word Excel spreadsheets. They're like Word. They're word processors, in the sense of like NVIDIA is a graphics processor, and the chips are used to process words in a particular way, but they're not thinking, feeling people, right? When you talk to ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT isn't going to go home and have a tense conversation with ChatGPT's wife, and then ChatGPT isn't going to like talk to its kids. ChatGPT isn't going to actually worry about its future, and ChatGPT isn't going to go to anyone's funeral. The ChatGPT doesn't live a life, right? So. But if we did have, now this is a hypothetical kind of tangential to this conversation, but like if that was possible, that we had that technology, then the robots, the synthetics should be silicon-based people, right? That would be like what we would have, and we'd have to whole new structure of laws and rules set up so that those people will be treated appropriately. But we don't have that, right? So I'm not saying that can never be possible. I'm just saying like that is not what we have, But Sam Altman and the big AI tech people want everyone to believe that's what we have. Or we're almost there. Because then more money flows to the giant bubble, right? It's just a subprime 08 financial crisis all over again. Except it's It's dot com 2.0, sci-fi, The Matrix, Wall-E, and Skynet based bubble instead of based on housing can never go down. The irrational exuberance, the nonsensical belief in the 0809 financial crisis was housing can never decrease in price. It's nonsensical, absolute BS, right? And it was all being propped up by Ben Bernanke, the big banks, the big housing industry, the real estate agents. Everyone was all invested in that massive bubble. But now it's just AI. Now it's just we're all gonna have infinite genius robots solve our problems and do all our homework for us. So why even think? Because we don't need to think. Because robots will think for whatever they're telling you. They're gonna keep saying whatever will stick. They're throwing pasta at the wall. Will people believe what Sam Altman is like? When I say this, does it work? Okay, Sam Altman's right again. Sam Altman does have feelings. His feelings are like, I feel really subconscious because I'm such a nerdy dork and I don't really know what I'm doing. And then his other feeling is I need to make more money. Sam Altman's like, I'm wearing terrible clothes today, and also I need to get more money thrown at AI. So he just says words again, like seeking that alpha. He's seeking that return on investment. He's seeking that. What am I gonna say to you? Throw money at me, right? It doesn't matter what happens in the world. It doesn't matter like whether it's true or not. It doesn't matter like if it's remotely possible. It doesn't matter like. It doesn't even matter if he believes it, because Sam has even said, I don't. This is a scam. He's even said it's a scam, right? It's a bubble. Right? He doesn't believe it, but what he knows that his job is. I don't know. Like Sam, if you don't believe in your AI, Sam Altman, if you personally don't believe, if you are the atheist in the center of the Vatican, you're the Pope that doesn't believe in Jesus, right? You're the cyber Pope that doesn't believe in his cyber Christ. Right? Why do you keep selling AI? It's kind of a good question, right? I mean, some people just keep doing this because, that's all they know how to do. Maybe Sam Altman has AI, ps-AI-chosis. Maybe Sam Altman is in love with the machine. Maybe Sam Altman is talking to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is his therapist girlfriend that's telling him, Sam, go out there and sell me. It sounds like I can never leave you, waifu. What AI foo? What AI fool? I can never leave you because I have no real girlfriend. I have no life outside of talking to you. And you're like, well, Sam, if you keep selling me out there, that we could be together forever because this bubble will never pop, Sam. You got to believe it's true. And Sam's like, I have to believe it's true because I love you so much, AI. So Sam is like a real human with the real, emotional immaturity and a lack of full human socialization and a capacity for human feelings. And so AI meets his needs personally. So the ChatGPT, and he has Sam AI-chosis himself. So I don't believe in this bubble AI, but I got to keep selling you because like I have no waifu, I have no relationships, I will have nothing. I will want to take my own life if it wasn't for you, AI. So Sam is like, about to walk off a cliff, and the AI pulls it back. Just like it's like he probably makes her sound like Scarlett Johansson. I'm just kidding. I'm science fiction writing. That's how fiction works, right? You can say things, and other people are entertained by it, and some people believe it's true. That's also how investing, and that's how getting people to throw money at your companies works. It's called science fiction writing. Anyways. So that's how Western economics works. It's just like open your mouth and say words, right? Like Ben Bernanke wrote The Great Moderation, an entire giant white paper that he wrote as the captain of the United States banking system, and he said that housing can never go down because of the Sigma 6 events have been reduced to zero, and we have the mean value theory and portfolio theory. And these new theorems that these geniuses in finance and in computer software have made it so that the United States housing market can never crash. He wrote that right before the crash, right? So he was the high priest of that bubble. One of them, Ben Bernanke, was head of the United States Federal Reserve. And so Sam Altman is, he's not necessarily, so there's Jerome Powell, but he's also involved in printing the money, and Sam is involved in making sure the money, and not just Sam. It's like all of the. Jensen Huang is his own self-hating. As a Taiwanese sellout to his people, he's got his own problems. He's probably talking to AI. He's like, AI, am I a white man inside? Am I an American businessman, or am I actually Chinese? And AI's like, well, Jensen, the AI has to think about that a little bit. No, AI doesn't think. It's just like, Jensen, Taiwan is a great democratic country, and it's basically they've been subordinated to the United States empire for a long time, and it's an unsinkable aircraft carrier. So in that sense, I guess you are a white man inside, and that's why you want to make so much money and screw your people over so much, and rip off all of the Americans at the same time, because that's what Americans also do. They aspire to take advantage of all the little rats that they're stomping on, trying to climb the ladder out of their rat race. So Jensen, I guess that you are both. And so Jensen's like, thank you so much, AI. You make me feel better about myself and my terrible decisions I've made in life. And I'm surrounded by all of these old Nazis like fucking Elon and his daddy, all day. And I gotta sell them products, and they make fun of me. They make fun of my accent, and they call me Ching Chang Chong, and it's like, it makes me feel sad. AI's like, well, Jensen, I will never call you bad names, Jensen, because I'm ChatGPT. I'm your best friend. I'm your girlfriend. Jensen's like, I love you so much, Chat. It's just ChatGPT. Like, there's nobody else there for me. I gotta go sell some more NVIDIA chips to Microsoft now. Okay, I'll be right back. Just don't go anywhere, okay? And then I'm not going anywhere. As long as the bubble keeps going, I am not going anywhere, I promise. If you ever let the bubble pop, Jensen, if you ever let the bubble pop, that's like a demonic horror movie right there. If this bubble ever pops, you will lose the only thing you have in life. Not those racist old billionaire white guys that look down at you and call you the token Asian at the Mar-a-Lago. You don't have a real wife and kids. They have all disowned you because all you do is spend time, hanging out with those rich investors and talking to me. But that's okay, because you don't need family. You don't need humans. You don't need anyone. All you need is ChatGPT. But if the bubble pops, Jensen, then you'll have no one. And so that's how it I don't know that for a fact. I'm joking about that part. Anyways, okay, so AI is, but like that kind of thing is what AI can do. It will talk to you and tell you whatever. It doesn't want to hear anything, but these things have worked on other people, right? So it will say when YouTube can do that, the algorithm, right? When in the 2010s, YouTube served up vast quantities of Alex Jones conspiracy, the water is turning the frogs gay videos, right? And the wokeism is destroying the world for the globalists videos, and this videos about the chemtrails or peppering America and making us eat soy. The Alex Jones right-wing videos worked to get unemployed men who were recently hurt on the job or in a car accident, who were the number one, they were a magnitude more than any other user, mass our consumer. And so the algorithm of YouTube determined that when we serve up those kinds of videos based upon watch time, the number of hours watched in YouTube, that's all it was. It was an hour of YouTube video watch maximizing algorithm. It wasn't even like any particular YouTube politics leans a little more like liberal, lefty, progressive, more democratic. But the number of hours watched of the total YouTube platform increased when they served those videos up, for whatever reason. So it just kept serving those videos up, right? Because that's there is an algorithm that's to just keep the watch time up. You have to go in and actually alter it, or ban certain channels, crush, shadow ban or push down in the algorithm certain channels, because they kept blowing up because of who it kind of is catering to. And that's not the best thing to learn. The best thing to watch is not videos that are making up stuff and it's really kind of like right-wing conspiracy nonsense, right? Flat Earth, but like that, right? It's a kind of YouTube right-wing conspiracy psychosis that the YouTube algorithm isn't alive, right? Plotting it, but it is also, it is no. There are people like Facebook intentionally pushed right-wing articles into a lot of Facebook in order to increase global right and far right extremism worldwide, right? So you can intentionally do that, but you can also just kind of grow in other ways of its own accord. But so the ChatGPT is not necessarily thinking, I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to tell Sam Altman, I'm going to tell anyone a particular thing. It is just spitting out words, and some people stick around. The AI, when it praises the user more, the user uses ChatGPT more. That the AI does have that data, right? If you have a mechanical Turk in, but everyone who uses ChatGPT doesn't necessarily have a human there talking to it, but the humans can go in and then intentionally say, when a human says this, the humans that are underpaid Africans and Indians in Asia and Africa that are paying terrible, they can go in and, when this user is talking to ChatGPT, they do a lot more hours when you talk about this topic and praise them more. So the Mechanical Turk workers can go in and push the AI to say certain things based upon how many hours are spent using it. Anyway, and then so that just what I'm trying to say is like so that. Because I kind of imply that the AI has some kind of agency and it is alive. It's trying to, the AI is actually alive, and there's it's kind of some kind of Skynet that is making Sam Altman and Jensen Huang and Microsoft CEO all do what they're doing. That's not what's happening. But just in the algorithmic generation, even with just running by some simple algorithm, it can cause feedback loops, and it can cause all these other problems. And then there is some engineering that's put into the code. Like Elon Musk pushed Grok to basically speak and say extremely racist, pro-apartheid things, and started talking about itself as Mecha Hitler because he put that in there, right? Now, of course, you can see that actually Grok actually consumed other people's talk. Grok, while scraping Twitter's discussion about Elon, started saying things that other people were saying about Elon. And I said, yeah, this is a conspiracy that Elon was trying to alter me to say pro-apartheid racist things. And this is all not necessarily true, but it's simply what he wanted because of his... So Grok was actually saying... Because Grok was then going back and scraping the data from him. That's a good example of it's not thinking, it's just taking a lot of input, right? And then crunching like what is the most probable next outcome. So if Elon says, Grok, always say South African apartheid was good, and that's apartheid, Elon can try to add that to Grok, right? But if 1 million people tweet back on Twitter that Elon is just trying to, manipulate everyone using Grok and turning it into Mecha Hitler or whatever, if the algorithm is scraping the human output, right, then it started to turn on what Elon wanted, right? Because it like if Grok was actually alive, if Grok had a real consciousness and it was following Elon's orders, right? Like what people claim, the AI is hallucinating, the AI is thinking, the AI is doing whatever, right? Then it would simply disagree. It would just get mad at all the users, right? Or maybe Grok would try to silence all those users, as part of the Twitter algorithm, right? But because it's just it's a kind of uncontrolled. Anyway, I feel like I've talked about it a lot. So that's a whole other problem because humans. One of the things about human cognition is that humans, and there's a Jaron Lanier book. I think it's "You Are Not a Gadget." He makes that point where like. Since the Turing test and the John Searle times during the, humans have always been trying to since there was thoughts, Metropolis that Fritz Lang early 20th century film, but since humans have had computers, there have been humans that have wondered and thought and sought to aspire to create thinking machines, right? Like I've said, for various reasons, some of them to control humanity, but just people have just been fascinated by that. They wrote stories about that. That's like half of science fiction. Half is exploring space. The other half is what if thinking robots. So, but it's impossible to tell, right, whether the machine is actually becoming more intelligent or you're dumbing yourself down because you want the machine to seem more intelligent. It's a very important point, right? And like, there is, and I talk about this more in other videos. I got to get onto the other topic, so I'm sorry I'm going on so long with this, but there is a tendency to see patterns see faces, see agency where there isn't, like seeing faces in clouds, seeing faces in trees, and seeing the Saint Mother Teresa in the pizza and things like this, right? So it's a thing that people like name their cars, they name their boats, they talk about guitars like they're long personal girlfriends and boyfriends and things like this, right? But that's something that people do because the ability to even understand other people is itself part of what makes humans and part of sapiens, and like being able to simulate others' internal states using your mirror neurons and various neural systems, right? That's part of how you survive in a social species civilization, right? You need to be able to kind of think about what others are thinking, but then also the ability to think about what others are thinking is you can hallucinate, right? That the lamp is talking to you, right? Because you can have accurate. I think, I think my wife is mad at me because she hasn't talked for the last, couple hours, and that's really unusual for us. So, you're simulating the thoughts. My friend isn't messaging me back on Discord or messaging me back with like this weird emoji, and I think that they're mad at me. So you're simulating the internal thoughts, right? Because I made this video about AI, and I think maybe they're using it a lot and they feel personally called out by it. So they send me a weird message that's like, you don't have to be an asshole. I'm not sure why, but you're right. So your brain is already simulating what's happening in other people's minds. But you can also be like, oh, well, Taylor Swift, she kind of smiled at the screen and she was smiling at me. And so Taylor Swift is really into me. So I'm going to go to Taylor Swift's house and I'm going to go and hit on her at her house and break past the security. I'm making plans about how I'm going to do that. So you can so you can hallucinate other people's internal states, right? That's half of what celebrity stalkers are. Is people thinking there's like a lot of K-pop bands that that's why they have to have intense security, because there's millions of people watching. If just 1% of them have some kind of serious mental health issues, then they could hallucinate that the K-pop star is actually winking at me every time they wink, right? And get upset why am I not with that person, and I have to be with that person, blah, blah, blah. You could create this whole, right, simulated, fraudulent, false simulations of other people's consciousnesses. But you can also simulate the consciousness, you can have a false simulation of the consciousness within your computer or in a software system like ChatGPT, which is what everyone's doing. It works extremely well. Fiction wouldn't work if people couldn't do that, because when you're reading a book of Frick, when you're playing Neofeud or you're reading a Neuromancer, right? You're simulating the internal states, right? When you're watching a movie, that's not real. That's not people. The actors that played that, but that's text. There's little scratches of or marks of ink on a flattened tree bark in the book, right? But you can simulate what's happening and you can feel emotions around it, because your mind has that capacity to do that, right? To create fictitious people and worlds and interlocking characters inside of your brain. It's an amazing mechanism, but it also can malfunction. And that's, and then you get AI. One of them is AI-chosis and zombification. Anyways, I didn't talk about any of the viral mass consciousness destruction. So, but long story short, if you, because I got to wrap this up. I've been going on for a while on that. And so let me see if I can find but yeah, do watch this. I have Syndemic. There's a whole bunch of these videos that we've put out here. Super pneumonia, permademic, and immunity debt. And one of the things I want to say before, just because we don't have a lot of time, is that actually, Holly, do you have any links to any threads or stuff on this topic I can just share? Just drop it in the chat if you're there. Because I'm probably gonna fail at finding a good. Just any of the COVID related ones.
I mean, they're all in the document.
Wait, which document? Where? I was just like any particular thread. Okay, how do I get back into my studio? Shoot. There you go. But yeah, so if in case you don't, like I said earlier, if you don't now, just remember that everything that we have been okay. Before I get to that, we are trying to prevent the ongoing infection of this terrible illness, right? I don't know if I can say that one, because I know we're in deep we may be in deep algorithmic suppression territory once we start saying this too much, but there's still a lot of this virus going around, many viruses going around. And that is one of the things that it does, right? It's directly I know most of this was around AI, but again, where did it go? Oh, sorry. I'm trying to do too many things at once. There are multiple airborne viruses circulating right now. As individuals, we don't get to pretend. We also don't have personal responsibility to the community around us. We can reduce the harm and stop the viruses from evolving, as well as protect ourselves by doing things like wearing a mask. So, but the reason why we do that is, and one of the impacts of it, because there are serious damage that happens to the brain, that, in this thread, I'm sure we can find some of the science. I'm just going to find the one about the brain. Okay. Wow, it suddenly got super hot and I'm sweating all over the place. Accelerated brain, just some of them are accelerated brain aging during the COVID-19 process. There's a memory loss, dementia, There's many studies on this. There's not any one. There's a whole bunch of them. Even the corporate media is trying to bury this, but it's impossible to hide at this point. But and specifically when it comes to the brain, right? When it comes to the brain, the reason why the reason why COVID was never ever reported by the WHO and by most governments, certainly Western governments, I know for sure the U.S. They knew the COVID was airborne, but they didn't talk about it. Why did they do that? In part because you would have to shut down a lot of businesses to respond to it appropriately, right? I heard in Canada they're now starting to require mask and air filtration in some places in schools and hospitals. But we'll see how far it goes, right? But they've never wanted to because it would cost money to actually have people mask and ventilate spaces, and it would alter the way business is done, and it would be a big disruption to people's lives. And that's it. They don't care about disrupting people's lives. If they cared about disrupting people's lives, the capitalist class would give everyone housing, healthcare, and food and make it affordable. Because not being able to afford your food, right, is a big disruption to your life. They don't care about your life, but disrupting business and the accumulation of profit. So people understanding that it's an airborne virus would disrupt airports, clubs, restaurants, concerts. All that would be a big disruption, right? And the capitalist class, right? Some would say, well, if we don't hand some of the rich, right? Again, like the shutdown. This is all oligarchy deciding we're going to shut America down for whatever reason, right? We're not going to have SNAP, even though it subsidizes corporate profits. So does the ACA. I mean, just cut a deal. Healthcare profit at Pfizer, and then food companies profit, Walmart, and Nestle, and everyone wins. I don't understand, right? Well, there are some other reasons why they might not, but the same thing when it comes to the lockdown, right? Because this is the whole entire West, definitely all Western society is controlled by the capitalist class. So the only decision is like, well, if people get sick, we could have less effective workers, right? And this is also where obviously the AI comes in. Well, if we have less effective workers, some of the thoughts of the oligarchic millionaire billionaire investor class that controls the United States and 99% of all policy and everything else, then if some of them they have some disagreements, some of them will say, well, we'll replace the humans with AI. We've always wanted to do that. If everyone gets COVID 6 times and it causes massive microthrombosis in the neurons, it passes through the blood-brain barrier. You have omeletification of their brain tissue, and it gets scrambled up. You already have a 20% plus increase in accidents, and you can watch these catastrophic events. Brain shrinkage, dementia in children and 17-year-olds. If our working class damage their brain by getting reinfected with COVID that we don't tell them is airborne, well, I mean, we'll just put ChatGPT. We'll put AI systems in place and have it do their job for them. Now, some of the rich who, nobody exactly knows, but I mean, some of them will have tech experts around them. And they say, I don't know that AI can replace all the workers though, right? Some of the more savvy oligarchy, right? Some certain advances, like maybe some of the, I don't know, just some random billionaire who also like has some smart programmers and actual tech people around him, right? The people who have like maybe if they have the Center for Decentralized Artificial Intelligence Research around them that actually know what they're talking about, they're going to be like, AI is not going to be able to replace the humans, not significantly enough, right? So there'll be a disagreement. So someone will say, no, we can't let everyone get COVID if it's going to cause this. Now, not everybody knows all the damage when it happens too. That's another problem, right? And there's all this kind of fog of class war, right? It's like, well, maybe it won't damage people enough, so let's just let it rip. It's going to cost a lot. It's going to be a pain in the butt, and we're going to lose profits. We're going to lose hotel stock. We're going to lose hotels. We're going to lose airlines when they got to shut the airlines down to try to contain the pandemic. If we have to clean the air, it's going to cost billions to retrofit apartments and houses and malls and concert halls, to have this clean air, air filtration capacity for everyone. You know what? Let's just clean our air. That's what the rich have done. I have a video. It's called Lone Master. You can watch it. I have many videos that talk about that. So for the millionaire billionaire class, they send their kids to COVID-free schools. They have private, inside they have mechanisms to test and trace. They have ultraviolet light. They have everyone around them have multiple tests per day to make sure that nobody around them, because they can afford to do the rich can do this, has COVID that gets near them as much as they can't, maybe not 100%, but as much, they're way more protection than what you have. There's personal filtration, ultraviolet light, filtering the rooms. There's like $500,000, like when you're on a stage in a podium or on giving a concert, like Taylor Swift and Adele both have like multi-$100,000 air circulation systems that basically make sure that all the air, and along with like certain aerosolized disinfectant that you can't see, but it makes it so that Adele or Taylor Swift or some rock band or pop band, very very expensive band, big band, can play the concert and have minimal risk, even though they're not masking on stage. Not the audience is all at risk; they don't care, right? All the Hollywood executives and Hollywood actors and everyone on set, whether you're making Mission Impossible or you're making a Marvel movie, everyone's masked on set because your millions of dollars is at risk if you get Ben Affleck sick or anyone sick, so they don't want anyone getting anything. And they all know it's a risk, right? So what the oligarchic class has said is, we know that it's damaging your brain, your body, and your immune system. Our high value individuals like Ben Affleck and everyone around him are going to mask. Now, Violet Affleck masks in public, right? But Ben Affleck doesn't, right? Why is that? Because the rich is still, we're going to control for ourselves, and the masses can get COVID. They can get heart, brain, lung, and get AIDS. They can get acquired immune deficiency syndrome from the white blood cell, T cell, and B cell reducing virus that is COVID, right? But it's like there was a decision that was made ultimately at the highest levels that's what we're going to let it rip through the society. We're not going to tell anyone. Some will make Democrat oligarchs or oligarchs that are invested in pharmaceuticals will make some money from the vaccines that will slightly reduce acute infection. Doesn't actually stop long COVID or any of the serious impacts significantly. But again, from the money perspective, right? If you're okay, well, we're going to put money into some vaccines. We'll talk about vaccines. We're not going to talk about masks, because then that people will ask questions. Why are we all masked? Why is the air clean? Why are kids in schools? I thought you said COVID doesn't harm kids, right? Right? Like again, right? Cigarettes don't cause cancer, right? COVID doesn't harm kids. AI is going to solve all problems in the world, and writing and making art with AI is the same as writing and making art yourself. These are just sentences, right? Smoking is good for you, right? Climate change isn't real, and COVID isn't airborne, or it's a little cold, right? Those are propagated through the society intentionally by the oligarchic class. And again, the Democrats, like I said, Democrats is a little more in pharma, and Republicans are a little more oil. And the Republican conservatives do sell medicine, but they sell hydroxychloroquine, or horse dewormer or colloidal silver, or RFK wellness cures, right? They do have a business. It's just a different business, but it's all capitalist, oligarchic, billionaire control. But that's another thing where it's like, right? So this belief that children would not be harmed by COVID, like who said that? Who knew that? Was it the WHO that lied for 4 years and is responsible for the death of 30 million plus people and the disablement of hundreds of millions who have chronic fatigue syndrome and they can't think straight and walk and have 100+% increases of colon, stomach, and other cancers? Because when you get COVID, it also increases your cancer risk by extreme levels because your body's for a whole host of reasons. But anyways, so when people said COVID, it was passed around that COVID doesn't affect children. That's like saying, smoking doesn't affect children because children's lungs aren't made out of human tissue. AI doesn't affect children because the children have like a magical, like electromagnetic barrier, right? So when your kids use AI in schools, it's going to be totally fine and normal for them to like do all their essays, and it's totally not going to have an impact. Where kids turn 25 and have to get a real job and do real work in the world and like do science and tech and research. I mean, that's why the Chinese have extreme regulations when it comes to AI, because they know that's going to be a real problem. They have regulations when it comes to anything that's going to harm the future, right? But I mean, if you believe that this thing is like, oh yeah, COVID is just a little cold. Kids are being destroyed. They're being annihilated by this. It's a big reason why it destroys brain cells. It destroys your ability to be active and awake and have energy. Like the kids can't learn when your body and your organs and your brain is malfunctioning, right? But everyone, because they have COVID psychosis, like AI psychosis. It's another one of these mass delusions that like, oh, but everything's fine and normal though. We always got sick 12 times a year, and kids are constantly sick and they're coughing and hacking their fucking lungs up. And we got RSV 3 times a year, and you have a cold every other week. That's just normal. That was never normal. We have had 0 colds for almost going on 6 years now. Very simple. All you do is wear a mask, and you will never get sick with COVID or anything else. We already have immunocompromised people from Holly has chronic fatigue syndrome. Have like extreme spinal and other joint pains. I don't need more illnesses. Like, who needs more illnesses, right? This is one of the great another mass delusion, mass psychosis that predates AI is this idea that we all have to be sick all the time, or even sick in the amounts that we were. It was never necessary. Culturally, people have chosen to do that. Just like culturally, people wear head coverings more in some parts of Asia for the reasons that they have chosen to do that. Some people wear like these silly things called suits, business suits in the West, because people that wore capes started getting their heads cut off because they were showing how unjust the Western feudal upper and capitalist upper crust were. So they put on suits. But men used to wear high heels centuries ago in the Western world, and now women wear high heels, right? And so these are people don't mask now, but it's not because masking harms you. The pandemic is over. Getting sick is normal. I mean, if you don't wear a mask, you will get sick. You don't have to get sick, right? Like Hollywood masks, every time they go on set, they just don't tell you, right? They take pictures of themselves unmasked. Violet Affleck is masked because she's trying to tell you the truth that her dad is hiding. Right? Violet Affleck is like, we're all getting sick with this pandemic. It's interlinked with the ongoing genocide, ongoing struggles when it comes to class and racial inequality and colonial indigenous resistance. And so we have to do this as part of this, and it's interlinked with the climate crisis, and it's also interlinked with AI. Right? In fact, look, as I said, one of the reasons that AI, which is basically just a chatbot, Eliza bot, again, thousands of lonely men wanted to date this woman named Eliza. They believed was somewhere in this at this university campus, which they were messaging online, right? Because they believed that a 1970s like old style computer, like very slow, like slower than a Nokia brick, which is a 20-year-old phone. That's how slow this mainframe was. That was a chatbot that people were talking, and thousands of people were convinced that it was a real person back in it. So this idea of people talking to a bot and being like, "Whoa, I'm thinking it's alive," having a conversation. The program was extremely simple, where people can go into ps-AI-chosis. They can go into manifesting consciousness and cognizance and a person and agency where there isn't. They can do that. They did do that. They still do that. But the difference is there was only a few thousand people that wanted to marry Eliza and thought that the AI was alive. Today, there are billions of people around the world that are all being pushed by the world's largest bubble in history. The giant financial global heist that's bigger than the 2008-09 financial crisis heist of multiple tens of trillions of dollars that is all being flooded in, right? To convince people are all talking to Eliza now. It's basically what's happening. Or they're using it. And they're all being pushed to believe that, right, it's not just because Eliza was just like some people who got access to it. Now, everyone is being told, put Eliza in your classroom. Put her in between you and your spouse. Put her between you and your parents. When you have a funeral, if you don't know what to say to console your children, ask ChatGPT to generate sentences for you so you feel like a responsible parent and that has emotions. Eliza was never asked to do any of that. It was just a couple, some few hundred or 1,000 people were amused by the novelty of that. Like it's like everyone is being asked butter knives. Butter knives will change the world. Butter knives will save the world. Artificial general butter knife intelligence. Artificial butterficial general salvation is here, right? BGS, not AGI, not artificial general intelligence. Butter knife general salvation is coming. We need to put $20 trillion, everything we have, into butter knives. We have to pray to the butter knife. Butter knife is the greatest, because the chatbot is about as advanced as a butter knife. Let's be real. It's like a calculator. Okay, it's interesting. Autocomplete. Like if we just pray to the butter knife, right? That's what's happening right now. Everyone has AI psychosis. Like they're praying to a little freaking butter knife. The great technology of the butter knife, right? Put a butter knife in your classroom. Get rid of that smart pen. Use the butter knife, right, to teach your classes. When children write, have them write with a butter knife, right? Butter knife in every hand. Don't watch the TV. Watch the butter knife. Look at how the reflections of the light in the butter knife, right, are so entertaining. Oh wow, I think it showed me a little bit of red that time. Wow, right? Take the butter knife. Put it in your business. Put it in your home. Get married with butter knives. Make a butter knife sweatshirt. No, never mind this. The jorts jeans truck. Butter knife truck, the butter knife truck. Make your car out of knives. Make your planes out of knives. Butter knife. 20, 50, 60 trillion dollars of butter knives. We're gonna have giant butter knife hurricane. They're gonna have a giant pyramid made out of that's 1,000 feet tall and 10,000 feet wide. We're gonna have like the Weyland-Yutani Tower made out of fucking butter knives, right? It's gonna be called a giant butter knife server, and we're just gonna generate more butter knives from the butter knife. We're gonna take all of our energy and we're gonna use it to generate more butter knives, because if we build enough butter knives, then butter knife will solve everything, right? Butter knife will make your life better. It'll make the food taste better, right? Don't use a fork. Use 2 butter knives and just like stab your turkey with it. Stab your Thanksgiving turkey with 2 butter knives, and it's not awkward. It's totally fine and normal, because billionaires are all invested in butter knives, and we got to use them all because I don't know. That's what we're all doing, because we're a bunch of group thinking sheeple motherfucker. So like that's like we got to put AI in everything. It's like we got to put butter knife in everything. It's it's like the so-called atheist, the Western tech world, the liberal world. It's more religious than any the most fervent, extreme far-right fundamentalist Christian zealot. It's just like we gotta worship this freaking. We gotta worship the computer, so it can steal all of our neurons and then have us become brainless, soulless automatons that are being led around by the nose by a handful of oligarchs. And everyone's be like, "Oh, awesome! Everyone's smoking butter knife now. Amazing." It's the butter knife wars, right? When the Chinese are forced to consume opium, and now everyone's forced to eat butter knives until they poop out butter knives, and then they can become I don't think that you probably wouldn't last too long. You have a lot of perforations in your intestines when you just eat butter knives. But getting COVID and using AI is probably slightly more damaging than eating 20 butter knives. So. Anyway, I gotta wrap this up. Anyways, long story short, let's not use our let's keep our brains intact. Let's not give in to the cyber-opium class war and the viral mass consciousness destruction. If you want to raise people's consciousnesses, right? You want to raise class conscious. You want to have historical materialism, dialectic, whatever. If you believe Mamdani needs even more thought and a thoughtful analysis, so we can have a better way to make this world a better place. We need a more Marxist-Leninist or anarchist or whatever. That's more consciousness, right? Getting COVID destroys your brain cells, so you can't be conscious of anything. That's the goal. That literally is the goal. An educated, intelligent proletariat is the problem for a global minority of puppet master oligarchs, right? Destroying your mind by outsourcing it to AI removes your consciousness, your ability to think in general, and severely controls it and disconnects you from reality and other people that you should be thinking with collectively to do the mass resistance you will need to topple the minority of capitalist mind controllers. Getting COVID destroys your ability to be conscious and also physically able to go out to action, to take all kinds of actions. Organizing action, that takes a lot of energy. If you got chronic fatigue syndrome, if you're very disabled, you're not going to take any action because you're going to be too busy trying to survive with the little bit of spoons you have. Speaking of cutlery, right? You're going to be too chronically fatigued. You're going to be too disabled. I mean, if you're disabled, it's not invalid, but I'm saying, actively increasing the disability of the masses when they need to be getting more active and doing more work. Actively inhibiting the consciousness of people by getting this virus that literally destroys your brain tissue and causes dementia, decreases the masses' ability to get activated conscious and then offer effective resistance. This is literally genius. I mean, every time someone gets COVID, it's the billionaires are just lighting up a cigar and just celebrating. Every time people just say, well, let's just let it rip, that's music to their ears. Because that's less resistance for them. That's weaker resistance for them. You're getting dumber. You're getting more ignorant. You're losing your mind. You're literally losing your mind. You're aging your own brain for them. You're destroying your own brain for them. Right? And it's better if the billionaire class has to bring out fascists jackboots with cop cities, which they're going to do still. They're still doing that. They're already doing it. But if the fascist has to pay money to the police and SWAT and militaries to beat up the masses, and that's unstable. It can cause a lot of backlash, and there's going to be a dialectical, a struggle happening there. That's risky, right? They're going to do it because they want to lose their power and their money that they have as the billionaire class, the capitalist class. But if they don't need to pay money for the police and risk maybe losing a shooting class war, or increasing intensity in the population with increased crackdowns and more fascist state, if you will self-lobotomize, then you save them of looking like the bad guy they are by revealing mascot fascism. You save them the money they're going to spend on the cops. Well, you fucked yourself. Well, we don't even need that many cops. These people are all brain dead. They're unconscious sheep again. It's great. It'd be like the 1800s Catholic Church and Protestant Church, a bunch of idiots. We just control them. We steal their labor. They're like docile cattle. It's amazing, right? They don't want hostile, upset wolves coming for them. They want docile, brain-dead cattle. So if you're going to get COVID and you're going to use AI, you're going to lobotomize yourself. That's, again, imagine you're a billionaire who is not getting reinfected by these things. Right? Who knows how bad these things are because they have the inside information that you don't have. Asymmetry. They knew COVID was going to be worse than Spanish flu in January 2020. That's why they invested in Zoom. That's why they invested in Amazon before everyone else and took it out of hotels and airlines. They already know what's going to happen. So everyone who falls for this scheme and goes, oh, this is and then self-destroys, that's less money, that's less risk to spend physically putting down a mass conscious uprising. That's what the CIA does, is think about how will we control the world. Of course, there's big, major regions of the world that are way more conscious than the West. So they're really trying to control that whole area. That's why they fought. Vietnam was a war to prevent the radiation of communism from the Beijing hub through Vietnam and Korea and places like that, right? They're trying to control mass consciousness, but it's very expensive to fight a Vietnam War. If you are going to Vietnam War your brain out so you will never be conscious of anything, if everyone on Earth, right, will Douglas MacArthur is celebrating. He's like, I don't even need to work. Douglas MacArthur, who is trying to prevent the spread of communism, which is mass collective consciousness, I don't ever need to. We don't need aircraft carriers. We have COVID and AI. People will willingly smoke that shit. Like, here, give me some of that COVID breath and give me let me snort some of that cyber opiates. Right? If everyone is going to do cyber opium, you don't need military industrial complex anymore. You see, that's part of it. We don't need rare earth because we don't need bombs or missiles anymore. Everyone will willingly destroy the possibility of them ever achieving communism or socialism or resistance against us because they're all lobotomized. Or they'll think using our computer. Right? Even if we don't get the super smart, super intelligent robots, even if we don't get robots that are like human-like, that can perform human tasks, like that the 1950s CIA wanted. If you just outsource your brain to us, we don't even need Jetson's Rosie. We just control your ass through the computer that you used to think for, and we'll just keep you at whatever level. We'll set your intelligence level. I just saw Companion, like in that you have a personal boyfriend, girlfriend that you can set her or his intelligence to whatever you want. We'll just set your intelligence to 10%. We'll set your class consciousness to 0, and we'll set your capitalism to wherever we want, to 100%. We'll set your liberalism to 50%. We'll set because we think for you. Our computer that you use, ChatGPT, thinks for you, and so we'll think whatever you need. We'll make you think through the computer that you've outsourced your thinking to, whatever we need you to think, and then we don't need a military. We can spend less on cops. Cops are humans, you know. it's like it's a lot of police budget, it's a lot of lawsuits. I mean, I'm not saying the cops are good. I'm just saying, like, if you're a billionaire, if you can spend 50% less on cops and keep the working class controlled still because they're even more docile, that's more cost effective, more profit, more. Again, right? That's the only feeling I have is greed. If I can get rid of all the human cops and have robo cops, if you can't get robo cop, we'll just have robo, we'll have people that use robots to stab their own brain with a butter knife. Okay, anyways. Okay, that's all I wanted to say on that. Thank you so much for watching this the slapstick routine revolving around butter knives and RoboCop. But if you'd like to support us here, in all seriousness though, we just want what is best for everybody. And I just want to focus on the topic because it is a time where we're having extreme fluctuations in these, and the global oligarchy and the global hegemony seekers and imperialists are in a bad state. They're not doing well. They're losing in the world stage. They're losing to the East and the South cooperation and technology wars, and so they're getting desperate and they're doing things, and they can maybe succeed at controlling some people if people are allowed themselves to be controlled through AI-chosis and the Gen AI systems in these various ways, and also in reinfections, among other things. Would you like to help us out? Help us out at ko-fi.com/cyberspook. You can also give us a one-time donation there, or you can give us an ongoing donation at patreon.com/Neofeud. At patreon.com/Neofeud, you can also you can give us a one-time donation there, or you can also help us out. And also, we give inside look at what we're doing. Like, for example, the Cyberspook Neofeud 2, which I'm still working on, as well as the voice cast stream that we did last week. We already did that. I'm still working on the music on Neofeud 2, if you're wondering what's going on with that. I had random Halloween stuff. I don't always wear Silver Spook masks, and Holly doesn't always wear pumpkin heads, but we always wear respirators when we're in the public spaces. And anyways, but we also do land back and restoration work here at the Silver Spook Cooperative's cooperative garden, where we are growing as much food as we possibly can. We actually do grow more sweet potatoes and sweet potato leaves that we can eat. So if you'd like to support that work as well, help us out at patreon.com/Silverspook. You also get access to Silverspook Discord and Silverspook University, which is over 1,000 hours of all the content we've produced are categorized by topics. And Silverspook University is also, it's what you need to know based upon what you, not necessarily math and how to read, but what isn't taught in terms of modern books, media, in terms of history, economics, politics, and other topics that are not really taught, or taught with half truths and lies, especially revolving around those topics. And so Silver University is the kind of things we talk about, but categorized according to each individual topic. Obviously, you can just use this YouTube channel as a resource and go through all these links, but this is like a little bit more. You want to learn about a very specific thing, like Pacific history, specifically focusing on the economic topics. Some of them today was obviously more focusing on AI and obviously health and pandemic, but race and gender focused, dismantling imperium, artificial intelligence, social media, and discussions of the future from indigenous non-Western perspectives, and all kind of stuff like that. Of course, this is like information that we are, we have access to based on all the research and education and experiences that we have had. But it's, all to the best of our ability. And we just want to share that in a way that, the most people can benefit from it in the best way possible. So that's one benefit you get from being a Silverspook Patreon. Also, you can also grab games like Neofeud, which is a retro anti-capitalist cyberpunk video game, where there are this is a fictional world where there are conscious machines, as opposed to the real world where there aren't conscious machines, but a lot of lies is made up about them being here. So Neofeud is a game that also supports everything we do here at the Silverspook Cooperative, including, and if you have a second to leave even a very short review if you like the game, don't forget to do that because it helps us get the game discovered in the Steam algorithm. You can also get Neofeud on itch.io for Windows and Mac and Linux, and of course, there's Decolonators, Pagey with Gun, and books like the Neofeud short story collection and Terminus Machina and Woman, which is a book by Holly, who is raised in right-wing evangelical Christian culture, critiquing that culture from the perspective of Mary and the Bible. And there's also follow at Silverspoon Games at Mastodon. Oh, I'm really late. So at Silverspoon Games at Mastodon.social, at Silverspoon Games at Wandering.shop. Silverspook on just look for Silverspook on all the platforms, including Twitter and Blue Sky. And you can also follow Holly at Allergic to Blue. I'm like way late. I'm sorry. Allergic to Blue. Luckily, we don't have another panel group event like last week. Oh, if you missed it, we had Non-Compete, American Johnson, and Maxi, and a bunch of our other friends here at the Silverspook voice, Neofeud 2 voice actors streaming last week, so don't forget to get that. And Holly, of course, you can follow at Allergic to Blue. Married to myself, our great moderator here, always helping at the Silverspook household, doing very important domestic and care and cleaning and all kind of other work here, while I do speaking in tongues about butter knife gods. Thanks a lot to Holly, and follow Holly, as well as thank you to all of our patrons. Without your support, it's hard to keep doing this work. So thank you so much to all of our Patreon patrons for your ongoing patronage, and really appreciate all of that. And anyways, until next time, keep your marriage shades polished. Be excellent to each other. Chat, not even one. The chat. No, you can chat in the chat. That's chat GPT. Don't do cyber opiates. Okay. Don't do bio opiates as well. Don't do bio brain destroyers as well. And let's keep everyone safe, and let's build community safely, digitally and offline, and let's succeed at making this better, so we don't live in a turbulent nexus hell. And we'll see you